Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap, 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think, 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his
So, thank you for joining us after this round 24 week of Super League. Some big results, some big score lines, but before we get into all of that, I'm joined with Matty and Lewis once again. Another win for the Warriors makes the week a little bit easier, especially going back to work. How are we doing, lads?
Yeah, back to the day job, I suppose. I'm going to earn a living somehow.
Yeah, I've been back for a couple of weeks now, but getting good, getting back into the routine, getting back into the swing of things after a long time off.
Waking up on Saturday morning, it's always a bit easier, isn't it, when you've won?
It is definitely, yeah. You make a good
When you're
point,
driving
yeah.
into work and you have to think about a loss.
Well, I'd done a day back at work then, so I didn't... In my brain, it wasn't Saturday. So when I woke up at 8 o'clock, I thought I was late for work.
Bit of a mad panic.
And I sprinted down to the bathroom and then realised it was Saturday.
Well,
Bit of a funny moment in Irish, that. Bit
obviously, we were able to get a win on Friday against the Salford side fighting for the top six. And we sang the praises of Salford, but it was quite a dominant performance from Wigan, really. A 26 points to 8 win. Tries for Wigan were from Liam Farrell, Abbas Miski, who I said always gets a double, and then he's obviously he obviously listened to what I said and thought I'm gonna
Single malt,
I'm gonna
you could call it.
make him look like a bit of an idiot, really, and just took one this week. Jake Wardle and Jai Fields right before half time. I'm committed to it now. And then only the one try for Wigan in the second half from Toby King.
Yeah.
The 2 penalty goals, both from Brealey in the time that Mark Sneed was off injured. And then Ken Seo in the 70th minute. Sneed missing that kick. Going to show even the best can miss kicks.
Yeah, especially from the touchline.
Yeah.
Although
Harry Smith only kicks them from there.
we have scored underneath the post or on the touchline. He kicked everything from the touchline.
It's them ones that you think he should get that he struggles with. But let's start. Obviously, really opened the scoring with the 2 points from the penalty, but Liam Farrell gets the try scoring open. A brilliant play to the left hand side, starting off about 10 yards out.
Yeah, this was a play we've tried before.
Try it a lot, don't we? We
Yeah.
field out the back.
The crash ball, usually from Smith to Farrell, who is sort of an expert at getting into contact and turning his back and
Twisting and
getting the
fighting.
offload away, twisting. And a couple of times we've tried this, and the plan is for him to offload it to field. But a couple of times he's found himself free, and this was one of those times where he found himself free. Now, I thought he could have just dove over and scored. He could have passed it out wide where there was 3 fellas
He
waiting.
wanted a proper winger's try, didn't he, with that step?
He stepped a couple of times back inside, actually, made a couple of defenders miss and then went in for the try. But Field himself would have been hunting a try there. He got pulled back.
I was going to say he got absolutely manhandled, and I didn't notice it at the time.
No, I think
I was only watching the replay before that.
Yeah, we might have been given something there if Farrell hadn't have scored. I'm not sure. We might have been given a penalty or something.
He's done that for years, hasn't he, Farrell? He's not necessarily the biggest second rower, but he runs a really honest and committed hard unders line back inside, well, not inside, but back at, against them on a play kind of thing, for like people come out the back, and he's done it for years, hasn't he? And he's always good at, like you say,
this
field out the back, draws people in, and Farrell winning that one, you can often find, like you say, an offload or even a break.
That setup of that shift right to left and left to right that Wigan do with the decoy runner, player out the back, it's something we've done for the last 10 to 15 years. I particularly remember it starting really under Maguire.
Michael Maguire.
Yeah.
With Ryan Hoffman running on that short ball, loved it.
Oh, what a player.
But you always hear about it was instilled in all the academy teams to run that setup. So when you came in, you knew where to be. And Liam Farrell is the perfect example of that. a little bit in the academy. He was getting into the first team at that point, and he's running that line and ran that line and ran that line again. Harry Smith, he's only been in the first team 2 or 3 years now, would you say? Maybe 4?
I would say this is his
Third full
third
season.
proper season, yeah.
And
even at the start of last season, he wasn't 6
Yeah.
or 7, was he? He wasn't like starting. It was when we had that injury to Tommy.
so he knows exactly what to do because he's ran it a million times. Field is out the back, and they play short consistently, and it creates space for Field. And this time early on, I think it's the centre jumps up on Field early, and Farrell wriggles out of a 1v1 tackle. It's almost that muscle memory of just knowing where to be. And you look at like Junior December, who came on the other side. He's already running that exact same line, that honest line, because it's drilled in him to be in the right place.
He had a good game this week, December. Also just mentioned him quickly.
Yeah.
He had another. I know you've been asked saying, Matty, you want him just to have solid performances, and it was another one this week.
Yeah.
Did a good job, made his tackles, made some good committed runs.
I think he's certainly shot up the pecking order, hasn't he?
Nice, but see,
But
19 years old, getting a place in the 17 quite consistently now.
With that investment that we've put into the academy, this is the reward of it, that these young lads coming in, there's no panic about what you have to do, because they're just told out to go and do exactly what they've done in the academy, because we've been having them run them lines, we've had them defending in the same patterns, and that's what the top teams do, so that when you bring in a player, it doesn't feel like you're out of place, because you know your role inside out. And that's obviously the advantage to what Wigan do, Saints do,
Leeds.
all the
Having an excellent academy
Has its rewards.
usually translates into the first team success even before they've fully turned into the first team players themselves.
but then obviously Brealey kicked another penalty to make it four apiece
Yeah, well,
before Abbas Miski.
it was from Bevan French doing a perfectly good tackle,
Yeah.
and then Chris Atkin decided to just wait on the floor until it showed a replay.
Well,
And then mysteriously he was fine, even though they were checking his head.
you put a tweet out about this, about the video ref, and it feels like there's always controversy around it. I've said my solution on this before. Turn the screen off. If it's foul play,
Put an advert for the Wigan Warriors store.
but if it's foul play and the ref missed it and it should be a red or it should be a yellow or it should be a penalty, let the video ref give it. What it doesn't need is someone to stay on the floor so the ref can look at the screen, wait for a replay, because in this particular situation, the replay didn't come on for a while.
No, they didn't.
It was about 90 seconds to probably towards 2
I
minutes
think it was
before the
maybe
replay.
even longer than that while they were checking on Atkin.
And then Kendall, who was refereeing, was walking around, and as soon as the replay came on, he's looking at the screen. I don't even think you're allowed to do that.
Well, I can't recall a time where it has happened where there's been a tackle in that situation where the ref has watched the screen and then gone with his original call on field. Because Kendall the other night gave fifth and last, stayed down holding his head. He then watched the screen,
I think he actually waved him to get up.
watched the screen, watched it 3 times in slow motion after watching that, and then gave the penalty. And I've never seen one where they've watched it and just gone, yeah, it's legal. My first instinct was right. We're
So
playing on.
they checked his head, and then he didn't have to go for a head test, which we've seen before. Didn't have to go off for a green card.
I can live with him not going off, but you're rewarding people for staying down.
The green card was meant to come in to stop you from staying down.
But it was for anything other than head injuries.
I know, but if you're checking his head,
For me, turn the screen off. If he stays down and there's some mysterious foul play, let the ref look at
you
it.
can always just stop play.
Bevan French hits him, puts him on his back, boom, what a shot.
Yep.
Not one person, I don't even think any Salford players went,
No.
you see it when they get dropped on the red.
Yeah, they run in.
And the feet come
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
All he's done is pick him up and dropped him on his back. And he gets penalised for it.
We
You
had,
can't tackle high.
we had a few opportunities. French was smashed off the ball. Ellis was smashed off the ball. And if we'd have stayed down, we probably would have got a result out of it.
And it ruined a part of the game because there was 2, as well as the Bevan French one, so 3 in total, exact same tackle techniques, where the referee gave penalties for all 3.
Yeah.
All 3 were legal, but it was almost because he gave the first one for French, he
Yeah,
had to
no
be
choice.
consistent, but he was being consistently wrong because it was the wrong decision.
Which is why
What
French
were we-
has been charged £250 fine, Partington's been charged £250 fine, and Paul Cullen got another £500 in his pocket for putting on a spread at the next RFL dinner or whatever.
Well,
Just
we said it
ridiculous.
straight at the time because it was about 5 or 10 minutes later that there was a tackle made on a Wigan player that was similar to the French one.
Partington
Was it Partington?
Yeah.
I can't remember who did the first one or whatever.
Partington did it.
But the first thing, me and you, Lewis, obviously we sit next to each other, and the lads around us that we go with just said, it's not a penalty.
No,
But he has to give it
oh,
because
he
he
has
gave
to.
the French
yeah.
one.
He has to give it now. Yeah,
That's the line he's drawn.
So he's got to consistently make
None of them were
decisions.
penalties,
Yeah.
in my personal opinion. None of them are fine. The fact that they've even been graded.
they shouldn't be fining them for that. They shouldn't be fining them at all for that. And Jacob Miller had one that was fined as well for the same thing in another game. They shouldn't be fining people for this.
It just gets me.
And it got them level because Smith
Yeah.
had missed the kick from.
But that takes it to 4-4 before Abbas Miski scores in the corner. As I said, he always gets a double. He let me down this week. I'm glad I didn't back it.
Yeah.
Lovely ball from French this for, what did you say, Matty, before his 25th try?
That was his 26th. And
26th.
He got another one, didn't he? So 27, which is
He's on 27 in total
it's
now.
more now than Brodie Croft had last year when he won Man of Steel. And Brodie Croft only scored about 7 or 8 tries, and I think French is on 15 or 16. So statistically, he's had a much, much better season than Brodie Croft.
But I can't get into this conversation again of the Man of Steel.
The Man of Steel
It just
system
doesn't work.
The Man of Steel system does not reward somebody like Bevan French. It rewards somebody playing for a team such as Salford. So
It rewards teams that have a couple of star men based around the 7 to 6 to 5 spot, and usually whoever gets in at 5, the star man will get it because he's won them enough games. And
So
that's just not right.
you're looking this year at Lachlan Lamb.
In at 4, yeah. Because he'll get more points. There'll be less players to take points off him.
George
I do
Williams.
think Kapapi will take points off him. Williams, I think there's a few more in Warrington who might take a points off him. Dufty might. Vaughan might. Darren Clark will get some points.
consistently though.
But consistently, he is.
Because French in 2020 was the best player in the competition by a considerable margin, and Paul McShane walks away with the award. Last year it was close between all 3 of them, but I thought Jayfield deserved it, and I thought Wellesby would have been my second pick. But Croft ended up taking away the trophy, perhaps being rewarded for playing for the weakest team of the 3, even though Salford were a great team last year. We know, but
The system doesn't work.
The system's a system. It doesn't reward good players on great teams. It rewards good players on good teams.
But then, Jake Wardle scores just 3 minutes later. We go down the field again and score.
This was a clever try.
It was a nice ball from field, this one.
Yeah.
Great
It was
ball
an
from
outside
field.
ball.
It was a nice cut-out ball
Wardle
from
in that
field.
line again that
And
he always runs.
that movement that Wardle does, where
It's that right foot, then back onto his left. He just shimmies before the line.
he does it before he's even caught the ball. Like, it's that movement. Like, he's made a man miss before he catches the ball, and that's so classy from a centre. This lad, I'm glad we've got him for a few more years because he's a serious talent, Jake Wardle.
It's the way that you just think, as field's coming across, you're probably lining your man up and thinking, he's my man, that's where he is, and I'm trying to watch field on the inside. And then as the ball's coming across, you look and he's not where he was. He's just shimmied before the ball's even come. Or even mid-air as you're trying to pick him up again. He's not where you left him.
It's so difficult to
He's
tackle.
always on your inside shoulder, and then he gets through and he pushes his shoulders through.
And Lenigan let it slip that we'd signed him last September when I was at that dinner.
Yeah.
Because he said he was celebrating 150 years of Wigan Warriors, or Wigan as a rugby league club, and he was talking about the meeting at the George Hotel where rugby league separated from rugby union, and he said Wigan's representative on that panel at the George Hotel was a Mr. J Wardle, and he said, And I think many of us in here would be hoping that we would have another Mr. J. Wardle next season. We're like, well, that's him signed then, because you don't make jokes like that if you've not signed him, do you? But it was actually quite a while after that before we announced him, not like this year.
We seem to have done our business early. And
Well, I don't know if we'd done our business early then, but we've announced our business early.
we've announced our business early.
I'm not convinced we were planning on announcing Leeming, Chan, Walters and Kieran all in 24 hours or whatever we did. I think that might have been forced on us.
Yes, and they wanted to announce that they were
Leaving.
leaving.
Or Catalan wanted to announce they were signing replacements or something like that. And
Yeah.
you never know.
Well, you might see if we've done any more business.
We might.
then.
I don't think that we are done with business. I think there'll probably be incomings and outgoings as well.
Yeah, so do I. I think there'll be business in both ways to come, but it'll be interesting to see when that is announced.
Yeah, still a few contract situations not yet
Fully
sorted.
decided, really.
Yeah.
But then probably comes, probably the best try of the match. Jay's try, great try assist from Mark Sneed.
It's the most exciting. I'm always one for saying like breakaway tries where you've not really beaten anybody. I'd rather see a big flowing move with a lot of block plays, but this is the most exciting play. Let's be honest. When he catches that ball, you know it's a try.
We actually discussed something a moment before this try was scored about where Sneed, obviously they got it from a penalty and Sneed kicked a touch.
The half time who took on at this point
The
as well.
half-time who
So it's
took
a bit
on.
like, what are they going to do?
And we sort of said, well, if he's got any nerve, they'll kick really low. They'll risk not getting it out of touch. They'll kick as far as they can and try and get to our 20.
Yeah.
And then you can put a kick up.
What score was it
And
then?
try
14-4. I wouldn't have been against a drop goal. I see why they've put it up.
But my issue was, he's put it up on the 40.
It wasn't close enough.
So you tap and then throw the ball back 5 yards. If you're trying to drop it on the 10-metre line, you've got to run 35 metres.
The length wasn't the issue. Like where it landed wasn't
Yeah.
the issue. The length, it was the line of it. It was too central.
Yeah.
But I see why they did it, because Field messed that one up at Wakefield. And we conceded that try that we didn't think was really a try against Hull FC from that high kick. So I can see why they did it, put it up and have some men contest it. The decision was fine. The way they went about it was a bit naive. I think you should have put it closer to the corner because it's easier to cover then. I think you should have
There's only Sneed sat behind the line.
Yeah, you
in
should.
The end.
Two of them straight away overchased the ball.
Especially
you
when
can't
know,
do.
Especially when you know what Field can do from that.
Everybody's gone pegging
Why
it past
give
him.
him a chance?
Yeah,
Just say, listen, your left winger or your right winger. I can't think which way around it was. It would have been your left winger. If you're going to put it centrally on him, just bring your left winger across and say.
Joe Burgess.
I thought, Burgess on the left. Just come and sit at back behind us, just in case. Because it's not worth risking it. Even if we tackle him, it's 14-4. We'll take that after that half, that situation.
Let's give some credit though to Field as well. It was a great take with bodies around him. He managed to straight away, as we know, use his acceleration, get his eyes up, look where the big gap was.
I mean, I'm not.
And there was no stopping him once he got into full stride.
I'm not even convinced he got into second gear.
No, I don't.
He was just jogging, like he jogged the whole way. He didn't even accelerate past anybody because he didn't need to. The only person he accelerated past was Mago.
But it was a moment that as soon as he brought that line, I think we were already up
It
celebrating.
was a try. As soon as he caught it, it was a try.
And it was just...
There was a man there, but it was a prop forward. The only man who was in an even reasonable position to tackle him was Vuniawa. Well, he's not going to tackle him, is he? So it was a try.
I think my words were that you can't do that. The ease that as soon as he caught it and there was a space, he just knew it was a try.
I remember a try last season, towards back end of last season, where he scored one like this, where I think Custard put him through. The other team must have dropped the ball. Cust picked it up and passed it
Who was
to,
that
and he
against?
picked it up and he was facing his own line, and he passed it to Field and just put his arms up straight away to south stand.
As soon as he
And
stepped...
it looked so ridiculous that Field was still inside his own 10-metre zone, but Cust was celebrating a try, facing his own try line.
It
was just a try. I mean, it was similar to the one we had in the second half that was called back for a forward pass. Like, as soon as he's got any open field in front of him,
No one's catching him.
he's going to score a try. You might as well just stop.
catching him.
Might as well not bother.
It's weird. Mark Sneed set off to try and cut him off, and I just went,
There's
don't
no
even
point.
bother.
There's no point.
Don't bother, because
Save
you're not
your
getting
legs.
there. And it's that... There was a kick later on, right towards the end of the game, where The kick to the right hand side, our right, but Field takes it. And he starts to jump right, and drift towards the wing. And I said, I think I hate you, Lewis. I went, could score here. Mm-hmm. And he just poked his shoulders through, and someone had back of his shirt.
It happens quite a few times.
And you're like, oh, get him a tighter shirt so you can't grab it.
People just get him, but if you think about the try scored against Salford last year, 12 men in the line because there was an injury and tired defence. That's when he gets through those gaps.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cass, that try scored against Cass.
When he sells Kenny Edwards.
Yeah, against the tired defence, broken line, things like that, where you're just chasing a kick because you know it's in your muscle memory. You know energy left to chase a kick properly.
No, it was a brilliant try. So that meant we went in at half time at 20 points to
14.
Yeah.
Way more comfortable.
And then
Yeah.
there was the Vinny Hour sin binning.
Well, he saved a try, to be fair to him.
He did save a try.
Because French, if he was a few inches shorter, would have scored. But that was very typical of just... He was in the right position again, which I thought a few times Vuniyawa was in the perfect position to attack or defend, but was just a prop.
Yeah.
Was just too big to be in that position.
Especially one-on-one.
Yeah, so he's not going to actually be able to affect that tackle. It was just a lazy...
There's nothing malicious in
I
it.
I don't blame him for it or anything like that. I don't think French
Did you think it was a sin binning?
It wasn't kicking off. I think it probably was a sin binning just because of how bad it looked in full speed and because it didn't bounce up off the ball or off his shoulder and there was no mitigation. It was just high.
I just think, and I know people can't see, but he's just trying to grab him.
I know.
He's been done. He knows he's been done. He's not coming with a swinging arm.
I think sin bin was fair though. I think he's got a 1 game ban, which I think is a bit harsh.
Yeah, I don't think it should have been both.
I think it was probably just sin bin.
If it was a sin binning, he doesn't need the game ban. If it's a 1 game ban, he probably shouldn't have been sin bin.
No,
I would be happy if they just give a penalty and then banned him next week.
No, I think it should have been sin bin. I think it should have been sin bin and no ban because we see those tackles sometimes and they're not on purpose, but they are dangerous. Really, they are reckless when somebody's running at such speed. But like I said, it wasn't intentional. I don't think it wasn't malicious. So I wouldn't have banned him for that. I would have just given him 10 minutes in sin bin.
But then 5 minutes later, we do score in the corner with Toby King. A little bit of off the cuff play. Really, the ball starts getting
Bit of hot potato, you called it, Lewis.
Yeah, it was.
a couple of offloads.
Couple of drop-offs going back the other way. I think Smith gave it to Field and they were going left and then Field cut back and ran back round Smith on a drop-off and going back to the right-hand side.
That's what I liked when I saw it, and I watched it back to see how it happened because obviously it's moving so quick you can't see sometimes which players offloaded to who. But it was one of them that the ball's just going round and whatever, and it lands at Harry Smith. And he knows he's not the pace, the step of Field and French. And he just sees Field in open space and says, go on, this is your area to play. This is why you're here, to influence in these moments of broken play. And there was the Channel 4 interview where they were asking everyone about Field, and he said in broken play, he's ridiculous. And it's sort of that for me, that they just realise, get the ball in their hands and get people moving around them.
Well, you've got to be able to do 2 things, haven't you, when you're attacking? You want to stick to your structures, like we saw with the Farrell, block players and bodies in motion and all that stuff.
Miskey tries well. Yeah,
Miskey's as well, where French lobs the cut-out ball, even Wardle's where Field lobs the cut-out ball. But there's other times when you've just got to be able to adapt and play a bit more ad-lib off the cuff and rely on your X-factor players like your Fields, like your Frenches to make something happen when your move's maybe broken down, you're a bit more ad-lib type of thing.
It was nice for this game. So Kings, Miskies, Farrells, Wardles, all the tries apart from Fields, we scored from pretty close to the line.
Yeah.
And last time out at home against Hull FC, we struggled to score once we got within their 20 metres. We had a lot of good ball, but we struggled to put points on. So it was pleasing. I know we did all right at that against Catalan, but we still had quite a few tries off kicks.
Yeah.
I think it was pleasing for me to see. No, we didn't need kicks. We just opened them up from quite close to the line.
Yeah, we need to execute, don't you? We're moving into the big games now, going into the playoffs and hopefully eyeing up a grand final. So if we're going to win those big games, we need to execute.
You need to turn good ball into points, don't you?
That's it. You need to execute at the right moments.
I thought we dominated up front again, through the middle.
We did. I
Our
thought.
forwards were fantastic again. To say, last 2 weeks we've come up against probably the most fancied pack and the biggest pack in the league in Catalan Dragons at all, and we've come up against Salford's pack, who are, they're no mugs themselves, and we were down quite a few players. And to say those 2 games, our pack have dominated both and laid a great platform, to me speaks volumes for the boys in the middle there.
Yeah, I think that's the impressive bit there that you just touched on. The fact that I don't mean to keep crying wolf for this, because we've talked about, injuries are part and parcel of the game, but we know we've been down on troops. We got Ellis back from his ban, but then didn't have Dupree because he failed his head injury assessment last week. So we were down with Dupree, which meant we had December coming onto the bench, and we had Magor and Shorrocks, I think it was on the bench in December, and Sam Powell, because O'Neill started. Right there, yeah. So, again, obviously missing Dupree, who's been good for us since he signed, and probably everyone's been looking forward to playing back to his old club. So, yeah, when you're down on troops and those forwards have to do a job, and there was a bit of mixing up. I know Kai Pearce-Paul went to prop for a bit, and I like it when he plays down the middle.
Yeah.
He's really destructive.
I think there's a couple of players whose production and whose play has gone through the roof this season. I think one of them is Kai Pearce-Paul, since he's come back from his injury. I think the other one is Cade Ellis.
Yeah.
I think Cade Ellis's performances this year have been so improved. He's always been good, and I've always liked him, and he's always run hard. But this year, he seems to almost run harder and tackle harder and be smarter. And
I was just going to say about the tackling harder. He seems to be making up a lot of tackles.
He's a better defender.
And that's allowing people like Magor, who we have discussed not being
the best defender.
But he's doing a lot of the hard tackles, allowing people like Magor to do what he did, where he's only made 10 tackles.
If you want to talk about somebody tackling, how many tackles did Morgan Smithies make this game?
Quite quiet from him, really, in this game.
Because we're usually thinking like 30, 40, 50 tackles.
Just a quiet one for him, 20.
From Morgan Smithies.
But he also came off after 10 minutes into the second half, so he played 50 minutes.
If one of them runaway bulls, raging bulls from Catalan were on our pitch, I think I'd send Morgan Smithies on tackling. God and tell us again.
But that's it though, again, like, it's allowing the people that are better going forward, like Magor, 16 carries for 90 metres.
Fantastic again.
An impact from not getting put to the floor.
I did want to talk about him, so we might as well do it now, but Patrick Magor over the last 4 or 5 weeks has been incredible.
Seems to have upped his game, and we have discussed that before, that he seems to have upped his game.
Maybe he saw Ellis get a contract renewal and wanted a piece of that for himself, I don't know. Fantastic player, and he was lapping up the applause at the end, wasn't it? It feels like it's either it could be one of his last games at DW. I think if he did move to another club within Super League, he'd have everybody's best wishes, and I think he would actually do quite well for whatever team he ends up at. But I think that his Wigan career isn't necessarily over. I think there's still option for us.
It's the quarter spot.
I think we can just be as creative as we want with that quarter spot, and maybe he isn't the answer long term. Maybe he isn't even the answer short term. I don't know, but the memories he's making at the minute and the performances he's putting in, especially if he were to leave us with the big one, with the big trophy. I know if he wins League of the Shield, yeah, it'd be great. But if he leaves us,
he go down fondly in everyone's memory.
Exactly. And yeah, I think everyone would give him the best wishes, and he could be another devastating prop. I mean, there's a few teams in the market for a devastating prop like him.
I don't think there's many teams that are turning down.
No, I mean, we've seen how good like Chris Sate has been in this division, and Sam Lasoni scored a hat-trick. Yeah, well, Manu Mao and Chris Sate are going to be reconnected next year, aren't they, at Catalan? So there's a gap there at Hull FC. You don't want to speculate, do you? But
because I've not heard anything.
Last I heard, Huddersfield might be interested, but they always seem to throw Huddersfield in for everybody because they've let a few go and they've not signed anybody yet.
Someone who did get some credit, and who deserves some, because I felt a bit sorry for him for the last couple of weeks, Liam Byrne. I've seen Liam Byrne people saying and giving him some praise, saying he's doing well, and he got a bit he was getting criticised from some of his performances. Pete come out and said he was playing with painkiller injections. He
Yes,
needed,
that 2 weeks
a
off.
break, and then he got his break, and he's
Was
come
immense
back
in
from that
Catalans.
now to be, that, you know, you could tell it's what he needed. He
He's back to-
absolutely
he's back to
fully
leading the
needed
pack.
it. Yeah.
Back to leading the pack.
And it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? I know we talked about this when Pete come out and first said those comments, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors,
No.
and people were straight away to criticise him. And I like the fact now we had an open coach who come out and said, look, here's the situation. People got off his back. He went for a bit of a break, had his 2 weeks off, and he's come back and he's hit the ground running. So I'm glad he's getting some credit now because he deserves it.
I think he was the man of the match on Sky.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the full game back, but he was man of the match on Sky.
From what I saw,
I found it really difficult to pick a man of the match for this game.
I could have picked
There
anyone.
was
I know the stadium called it for field, and I predicted that, but I think I could have given it to Wardle. I could have given it to any one of the
King,
forwards. Toby
Those
King,
Lords.
yeah, French was fantastic again, as he always is.
Field was brilliant. Marshall, 14 carries for 133 yards.
Yeah, he's going about his business very quietly and very, very effectively, isn't he? Yeah,
And then just finishing when he needs to.
And finishing
His kick
when-
returns have
finishing.
drastically improved over the last
Finishing.
18
yeah,
months.
yeah.
And
And he doesn't seem to make as many errors in defence. I know CO scored on his side.
CEO scored it.
Weren't his
And,
fault,
to be
was-
fair, my first thought was that he shot him.
No, he didn't.
But
Because
then-
it was 3-on-2.
Again, we watched it back on the big screen and we just said, no, to be fair,
It's 3-on-2.
really stepped around very late and created the overlap. And that's
That was
exactly
good
what
play
they
from
tried to do.
Salford. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
you got to credit Salford.
Yeah.
It was good play. They created a 3-on-2 and they executed it.
they're
And
good at that, Salford. They're good at those kind of plays, and they do chuck it about, and they have a bit of.
They have firepower.
They have a bit of firepower.
Burgess, Laffey.
Laffey was a handful, as he always is, with his offloads and with his scattering runs. I thought Dion Cross was very game.
Yeah.
I thought he made some excellent runs, and he run him really hard. I mean, it's a shame he's not a bit bigger because he could be a serious centre if he was the size of Laffey.
Off Tim Laffey, that'd be a serious partnership.
Yeah. But I do like Dion Cross. I think he's a strong runner with the ball. And obviously, Watkins is playing in the pack.
He didn't look fit to me.
For a
Watkins.
reason. Well, what about Brad O'Neill? I'm not sure Brad O'Neill's 100% for this game. To be honest, we were hearing he wasn't going to play, and we were hearing it was going to be cussed onto the bench and Powell was going to start because O'Neill wasn't fit because of that rib injury, and he went off earlier than I thought. He went off after half an hour, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't
And
come back on.
And Powell, no, he didn't come back on. Powell come on and I thought, oh, that's a bit early for Powell. He normally comes on after about 55 minutes, And Powell then did the rest of the game. So I'm thinking maybe O'Neill was, let's play him, and if we're doing all right, let's take him off.
Obviously, they got cussed into the reserves and he played in 80 minutes in the reserves.
He scored.
Scored. I wonder whether there's a little bit of, is it better him to get 80 minutes under his belt at 6, sorry, where he is the sole backup if something's needed.
Yes. Well, the thing with Kate Cust is now that he would have been in for this game on the bench if O'Neill didn't make it. But also, if Bevan French were injured, Cuss would be in at 6. If Jay Field got injured, Cuss would be in at 6. If Abbas Miski or Liam Marshall got injured, he'd probably be in at 6. So he's not only covering one position, he's covering 4.
He's effectively covering all of your spine.
Yeah, but he'd play at 6 for most of those eventualities.
Yeah, he would play at 6.
Even if Smith got injured,
play at 7.
you might put Hampshire in, maybe.
I still think they could cuss me.
You might put Hampshire in just because he's a bit more similar to Smith than Cust is, but you might pick Cust, I don't know. So he needs to be sharp, doesn't he?
So I think maybe
I'm sick of seeing people get injured in September. I saw Wardle get up and he kind of fell over and I thought, oh no, Wardle's injured. But he just tripped. But last year we lost French, Cust, Farrell, all in September.
Yeah.
And I don't want people getting injured in September. It's no good.
No.
And then of course it was even close to the final because the final was in September.
But it just means that I think that 80 minutes for Cust, some long minutes in the legs.
Maybe,
No, it's not.
and it were against a good reserve team too. It weren't against one of the teams they've been battering.
No.
It was against Leeds Reserves, wasn't it?
Yeah,
They're
it was a very good game
They're
apparently.
a decent side, and it was a close game.
I couldn't get down to watch it
I
due
wanted
to other
watch it, but
commitments.
no, I wasn't able to.
But again, just getting minutes in the legs.
Yeah, I'll watch it on Wigan TV at some point this week. We're recording quite early this week, but I will watch it at some point on Wigan TV. Because I want to see how we do. I mean, Cust and Hampshire as a half-back pair in the reserves Pete mentioned it a few weeks ago, didn't he? Like when we
Serious
play
half
when we play
reserves.
ones against twos, we have to defend against Custon Hampshire in training.
Yeah.
Well, what
Who-
other team around the league can boast that they have to defend against players like that? No, but nobody's backups are that good.
But it's weird if you're looking at let's pick Warrington. If they're 1v2s, obviously it's Williams and Drinkwater. But their backup half,
Don't know.
they usually go Metaltia.
I don't know who it is.
During the season, they put Metaltia there.
Well, they keep loaning out Riley Dean and bringing him back, so he's the backup halfback.
Yeah.
But
But they picked Metaltia ahead of him,
Riley Dean,
who
yeah.
would be playing centre. So we talk about depth and
Warrington
having
Centres
options.
is a weird one. They've signed 2, haven't they, this week?
signed two, and
Roderick
obviously
Ty from PNG, who I liked in the World Cup. I thought he was good.
and the young lad from Saints, who's
Lad
very
from
highly
Saints,
rated,
Yeah, so
but just not been able to get a
where
chance.
it leaves Toby King and Connor Wrench.
I like Wrench mate.
Because Matautia is on the out apparently.
No, has he not just signed another 1 year
No, I
extension?
don't think. Has he?
I'm sure I've just seen he signed a one.
Sione Matautia signed an extension.
I'm gonna
Not
look at that.
Peter. Sione signed one today. But I think Ratchford... It's kind of common knowledge that Ratchford's filling in at centre. And perhaps won't be next year. Connor Wrench and King for me would be there if you're going to go with Thewlis on the wing.
I think we started off this season by saying one of their biggest strengths was our strength in depth.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the signings we've made and the fact we've got people fighting for positions, we're privileged in that way, aren't we? And it's come in handy now because we have had some
But
injuries.
that's fine.
Havard, Cooper, for example. Piers Paul was out for a good while. Field was out for
But look at
8
when you
weeks.
pick up an
So
injury. If you pick any position that we could pick up an injury in, we lose a centre. You're bringing in Ian Thornley.
If you think about our reserve team, if it's going to be used primarily as a reserve fixture, which is what it's meant to be, it's meant to be a B team, not an academy, even though it is kind of an academy with a few sprinkled in first team players. At the start of this year, you would have had Miski in, you would have had Nsemba, you would have had Hill. Now you're thinking
Brad O'Neill.
Now you're thinking, all right, well we've got Custin there and Hampshire and Thornley, and if everybody was fit, Hill and Nsemba and Shorrocks, they'd be in there as well. All of a sudden you've got a decent reserve team there.
yeah.
And then our reserves are top of the league as it stands, but it almost doesn't matter wins and losses in the reserves because there's loads of teams that just turn up with academy squads.
Yeah,
And I mean,
forfeit game.
I watched us against Hull KR, and that was a week before the cup final, and we basically turned out our academy side plus Thornley, Hampshire and Powell, and we dominated them because they were all the academy side. So it's a bit weird. Like you ideally you'd like to put out a first team, then a reserve team of backups, and then an academy squad. But there's a bit of interchange in there, I know, and it's in a season where you can't just pick your top 18 players and say, right, that's your first team. Here are all your backups because they all end up playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, your
But Joe
backups.
Shorrocks played in the reserves the other week, didn't he?
Yeah, and Shorrocks is somebody who's kind of in and out of the team.
Well, I was about to ask before. Would you use the next 3 weeks to rotate maybe a couple of people, give Faz a rest maybe, and use Shorrocks, who's been 18th man the last 2 or 3 weeks, because we know he can do a job in every position in the forwards, to maybe rest the Morgan Smithies?
I wouldn't do that at Headingley.
I wouldn't do it at Headingley.
And I probably wouldn't do it at Leeds Sports Village. I think you've got a chance to do it against Cass. I wouldn't, and again, I wouldn't fully rotate the squad.
No, it's just if anyone's carrying a knock. If someone's carrying a knock,
I would definitely give them a rest against Cass.
Someone would have to be carrying a knock, I think. I wouldn't take anyone out just to rotate at this point, because when you're going into your big games coming towards the end of the season, you want to keep your momentum, your rhythm, your patterns going. You don't want
No,
new
I've got no
personnel
issue
going.
with that.
If
It's
they're
just
carrying
a
a knock, then fair enough, rest
Yeah.
them just for
And
get
we're
over
not-
the knock. But
we're
if
not in a
100%
situation-
fit, they play.
We're not in a situation like we were last year where we were playing St Helens on the Friday and then Hull KR away on the Monday, which was ridiculous, by the way. I know every team had to do it, but it was ridiculous for every team. So when we sent that academy squad to Hull KR, we're not in a position where we have to do that. We've got a game a week, hopefully a week off, and then a home semi-final. Hopefully, if we finish in the top 2, which is not cut and dried.
But I just want to make sure that any of the lads that aren't in that 1 to 17
Well, we
are
need
playing in
we
the
need to
reserves.
have reserve fixtures. Yeah, we'd need to have reserve. If Shorrocks is on the outside looking in, which he probably is if everybody's fit, who we think is fit, seems like Nsemba's ahead of him in the pecking order. So then you'd have Shorrocks in the reserves for 80 minutes, because if there is an injury or you want to rest Farrell for a game against Cass, he's straight in and he's sharp.
I've got to say, I do think Shorrocks might be the perfect 18th man. With his options,
Well, it's versatility, isn't
he
it?
can
Yeah.
fill in at 9.
I don't think anybody's sorted what to do with the 18th man yet. We've had Toby King there sometimes.
Yeah.
We've had Thornley, we've had Hampshire, we've had Cust, we've had Harvey Hill. We've had loads of different positions. Other teams around the league have kind of usually gone for a sort of utility forward.
But I think Shorrocks could be that for us, because he could fill in the second row. He did 3-4 weeks there. He could fill in the halves if he needed.
I think Shorrocks as a utility forward, let's call him,
Yeah.
would be the man for that
Yeah.
that role.
But
And I think personally it should be for any failed head test, not just ones from foul play. It should be any failed head test you can bring your 18th man in, because it's independent, the head test, isn't it? There's no advantage gained.
well, I was actually talking to someone today who told me about the tests, and obviously you do them periodically through the year on a computer where they test
Yeah, that's how they get
test
the
your
baseline.
response
Yeah.
to get your baseline, and then go into more when you do the test. Depending on how far away you are from your baseline score is whether you've been passed or not. He did suggest that there was room to manipulate it if you deliberately went a little bit slower on your baseline.
Really?
Um,
Well, I know.
But-
I remember Ryan Hoffman once saying he ran out of the tunnel at second half and he thought, "Oh, we're winning." That's how bad it was. So it's clearly got to be better than that, and it is at the minute. I have a funny story about concussions, but it's only funny because the guy wasn't concussed. It was about a head test at a university cricket game I played against, I think it was Manchester Met, and this lad got it in the nose. Keeper, he was standing back, and he got it in the nose, and he came off. And the fella who was there at Wavertree was giving him all these questions, trying to do a head test like he'd seen on the television. He says, "What's your name? You know, where are you?" And he says, "Oh, I'm at this cricket club." Oh, name is, "I'm at this cricket club, got a university game." "And who do you play for?" He said, "Manchester Met University." And then he says, "When's your birthday?" Oh no, he said, "What was today's date first?" And he got that one right. Then he says, "When's your birthday?" And he starts telling him his birthday, and then he says, "Well, how would you know if I'm right or not?" And he went, "All right, yeah, you're not concussed."
but going back onto that, he does feel like the perfect utility option, doesn't he? Or Wigan's best utility option.
It's probably Wigan's best utility man, isn't it? And the utility men are underappreciated and underpaid, but he probably is Wigan's best utility man.
One for you, very quickly. Would you potentially try Nsemba and give him a run on the left-hand side at some point? If he's playing that bench second row option?
I'm keeping him doing what he's doing, I think.
Just to get some minutes in there in case something did happen on that left-hand
I think
side.
Nsemba will carry on doing what he's doing. Oh, you mean take Farrell off at half time?
Yeah, and try him on the left-hand side. Just in case something happens, if Farrell
I
has to
don't
go to
know.
centre or...
I don't know. You don't know if you put Pierce Paul out there and keep Nsemba on the right. You don't know, do you?
It's just nice. It's
Maybe
weird we're talking
again,
about
if
so many
someone was
different
carrying a
options.
knock that you had to rest, then possibly yeah, you could fill in. But I think if the left side is 100% fit, then don't go changing with it. Keeping your rhythms, keeping your patterns as we're building up.
Matty Peter know what to do. Yeah, Matty Peter know what to do. Coach of the month, wasn't he, for August?
Yeah, well deserved.
Very well deserved.
I think that Catalan's win just topped it off. And
Yeah, statement win, wasn't it, away from home? And, another great win at home against a decent side.
I just thought this then when I sat back while you two were talking then, that it just feels nice to have a lot of options.
Oh, we've plenty of options.
Matty Peter
yeah.
has to make some decisions.
We've plenty of options, and let's be honest. Aside from the big two, and well, I can't even.
The back seven picks itself.
No, I mean what I'm saying is, apart from French and Field, we haven't spent that much money. You know, it doesn't.
Obviously, the Dupree signing.
Yeah, the Dupree signing, but I'm talking on the cap. Like, this isn't a squad where you think, oh, we've paid too much for we've paid too much for X, Y, and Z. There's a thought that we might be using our 2 quarter spots on French and Field, French will definitely be one because he's
And marquee spots.
Marquis Spots. Yeah, sorry, he's the highest paid player in the division, so French will be in one of them. But Bateman was on one of the other, so I don't know if it was just like a straight swap and we only signed
They just
French.
moved the next guy.
We
But
just moved
it
French.
goes
into
back to what you said
Bateman.
before,
I
though,
don't know.
mate. It's because we invested in an academy, isn't it?
Yeah,
We've probably got a cheap squad because we've got people come through the likes of your Morgan Smithies, your Ethan Hazard, your Harry Smiths,
Liam
your
Byrne.
Junior Decembers, your Liam Burns, your Harvey Hills. They're all homegrown products, and
Could I just ask, do you
that's
think
your benefit.
Super League needs to be more open on what were the caps spent? Because you can look into football, and I could go. You can name me a footballer now, and I could go and Google what his
but
contract
there's-
is.
So well, I don't know how accurate they are, and they're not a salary cap sport. However, on the back of every baseball card and every NFL team, it's very open. Or who signs what. When they sign the new deal, the team announces how much money it is for per year and for how many years.
I just think in a sport where it's dominated,
And that's
by
salary
the cap.
capped. That's salary capped. So you know how much they're spending on each player on the cap. In Australia, they talk about it as well. They talk about Latrell Mitchell being on 1.2, 1.3.
And I don't know how
$1 million.
accurate they are, but
No, these are accurate figures because you can see how much each team is spending. I don't know. I don't like the thought of people knowing
how much they earn.
how much. Well, you can look up how much we earn.
Yeah, but you get the point, though.
Work in the public sector, but I think I think how much we're spending, how we're choosing to spend our cap.
There should be a database where you could look and go, Wigan are at 78% of the cap, or they're at 95%.
So the one argument on that would be we might get raked over the coals for wages from agents because they know we've got cap space. The other part, like the other side of that coin, is the people in charge probably already know.
Would you not think that happens anyway with agents, as you talk about? Because they'll.
I think
If you're Bevan French's agent,
know how much cap space we've got. No,
Yeah.
no John
you also,
Bateman's leaving.
You also know how much how valuable he is to the club.
Well, I think Bevan French is fairly paid for the role he plays.
Yeah, so do I,
Wigan
100%.
Rugby League. I think Bateman leaving allowed us to do that.
Yeah, and if you're looking at another club and you know that X player is leaving, because there's not that many agents, is there? It's not like
Not
in
like
football where every man has a different agent and all this stuff. A lot of the same people are used.
Harry Kane's brother's his agent, and Harry Kane's the only client.
That's what I mean. So you've
He's
been
got an
looking
office and everything, wears a suit to work, just to look after his
He's only
brother.
had to do something this summer for once.
I know.
But if you've got a player who's at Wigan or at Saints, and you've got a player coming off contract elsewhere, you know that someone's leaving there and they're going to free up some space.
Yeah.
And I can offer and say, listen, I've got this guy here on,
Listen, Catalan, I know you're losing these three forwards, and you've only signed one.
but I've got X player,
Yeah, perhaps.
and I know how much you were paying them.
Yeah, perhaps.
And agents talk.
Yeah, so I think the argument for that is probably that the people in the know already know how much money people have. So why would it hurt for us to know? I don't know.
I'm not even saying individual players, but just to know how much room you've got. Could Wigan go and bring someone in? Could Lee, if someone became available, could your club go and get involved and look for them? I just think it might just be worth something that
Yeah. Instead of us guessing.
instead of us guessing and you go, I guess he'd be on this much.
And then when we brought Dupree in,
Well, actually, there might be more room than what you think.
yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up the Wigan section.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of talking there on a good win.
Good win.
Leaving is a good place for that. We've obviously gone top.
We went
Have we actually
top.
said that yet?
No, we went top.
Have we gone 50 minutes without mentioning
We
that?
went top on points difference. I believe it's 40 odd points
Yeah,
better and 59 better than St Helens.
I think so. It's around them numbers. So it's a big win, clear.
Yeah.
Is
St.
where I'd
Helens
be
have got-
looking at.
St Helens have got Hull at home.
So we are 44 clear
Although
of
we should
Catalans,
put some points on
and
Cats.
we are 59 clear of Saints.
I read it earlier. I didn't guess it. Don't worry.
It's where you asked it like a question.
Well, because I didn't know if I read it right.
But it's one big win clear.
Yeah,
Really?
and we've actually got quite similar runnings now.
Yeah.
The three of us.
It seemed very fair. Two difficult games and then
Yeah.
one that you would favour.
One you would expect them to put points on.
So it leaves it in a really interesting thing from Catalans being 4 points clear, and if they beat us, could wrap it up.
Yeah,
Well, we've put it in our hands, haven't we? We're in control of it now. If we can win these remaining 3 games,
we've done
then
it.
we should be.
Yeah,
we
I don't think we're
we
going to
should be
win the
there.
remaining
So
3 and then lose 44 points difference or
No.
Catalan. We're gonna if
That's
we win
it.
all 3 games, we'll win the league
that's
leadership.
it. So I think
that'll be
we put
massive.
ourselves in a good position.
Yeah, I think winning the league leaders shield. First place obviously would give yourself the best chance of reaching the final, and it probably means Saints and Catalan going to play each other.
Yeah.
But
Well,
but
that's
league leaders shield is a nice trophy to have.
I'd rather win it than not win it.
Yeah. I'd rather win it than St Helens win it.
John Keir wants it, which I thought was an interesting kind of league leadership. Maybe again once it's kind of won, we might talk about this a bit more on that episode. But he said it's the hardest to win and the least celebrated.
But I think that's
So-
because it's a gateway to the
Yeah,
grand
yeah,
final.
you know what it is. You're aiming for the grand final, but it was just interesting how he said it. He said because you've got to perform well over
Yeah.
the most amount of
If
games
we
in order
didn't-
to win it. It's
Sweden-
the hardest one. Challenge cut. You have
yeah.
to win 4 or 5 if you're a Super
Only
League team.
4 now, I think.
If
Four,
we didn't
so-
have the playoffs, then it would be the more celebrated.
Yeah, well, I get it. Yeah, it's
The minor
format of
premiership
the-
is harder to win than the major premiership,
Yeah,
even though it's worth not as much
yeah.
to the club. But and
When you actually look in the NRL, teams were jockeying over not winning it.
we'll talk about that in a bit. But that was all a bit weird. That
Right, that wraps that up.
they'll not do that in this country.
No.
People want to win it. They'd rather win it than not and avoid the other 2 big teams. Second and
Exactly.
third probably play each other.
Second and third play each other. I'm happy with that. Right, we'll be back shortly. So, we're going to have a quick look at Super League and we're going to start off on the longest game of Super League there's ever been. This game lasted, well, if you ask Ian Watson, it lasted 7 days.
Oh.
It
lasted well.
in reality, it only lasted 80 minutes.
You've got to feel for Zach Hardacre, who had to drive home after the game was abandoned and then immediately turn around and drive back.
Took him that long
to finish the game because it takes you that long to get home from Wigan. You know that.
But for those who don't know, it might have been a bit dark and you couldn't read the messages on your phone. The floodlights went out at Lee on Friday,
Yeah.
meaning that they had to leave the ball exactly where it was at the time and just pick it up and carry on Sunday.
Did they actually do that?
I hope so.
That would've been
I
fun.
hope they had someone sat there watching, make sure no one moved it.
Beaumont needs to be putting 50p in the meter besides paying for his leopard print Lamborghinis and whatever else he's
Yeah.
spending his
I've been
money on.
really positive behind Beaumont, but do you not find it a little bit ironic that they were sponsored by an electronics company?
Oh, that was just so perfect. It was like the bow on top of all this was a warm welcome to our sponsors, whatever electricals.
CES.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the game. Give them a contract.
But yeah, the floodlights went out at 16 points to 12, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they came back on Sunday.
Jake Connor had scored twice.
Yeah, he'd scored twice, and his first one. Love the fact that he just gets up after 14 minutes and decides to shush the League crowd.
Yeah. It's not as early as their Alphas, but it's not far off.
But then I didn't know he had a big rivalry with Lee. I didn't know that was a thing. To be
Jake
honest.
Connor has a rival with everybody. Lee, Bull KR, Barbers.
just Zach Hardacre in general. But yeah, 2 tries for Josh Charnley in this game. Tom Briscoe, Edwin Apape, where he decided to decapitate someone in the front row. He just decided to boot the ball at him.
If you've not seen this, first of all, it's worth watching for Ipape running through 4 defenders. But then, for some weird reason, decides to kick the ball as hard as he can
at the front row.
at the front.
He doesn't even go up. Not only when they do have to celebrate, they kick it up into there like he didn't. He just kicked it point blank. He didn't get 2 foot off the ground. And I feel sorry for the poor sod it hit.
It just scattered the first row. It was ridiculous. And he didn't even apologise. Just ran off.
Obviously, Ian Watson was complaining about this
There's a change.
because he said they wanted a full 80 minutes.
Yeah.
But they did get a full 80 minutes. It would
They
help
would-
if they weren't losing.
Well, if they had a full 80 minutes, they would have been too tired from when they played St Helens 4 weeks ago with 12 men.
Yeah, true.
So
true.
I'm glad I think they didn't play a full 80 minutes.
But should Huddersfield be docked points for changing kit?
They did change the
They
shorts.
changed the shorts and socks.
It's so weird watching
They
that.
was playing the full Huddersfield traditional colours.
Yeah.
Then come out with the same shirt on, but white shorts and white socks.
Could you claim that as a sporting advantage?
No.
Under the lights, it's a bit reflective.
They were worried that lights wouldn't be enough, so wore the white shorts and the white
Mustn't
socks.
have been nice weather in Huddersfield. Kit man couldn't wash them and get them dry in
Yeah.
time. There was probably still out on the line a bit wet. So he went, oh, I'll have usually the shorts. Get the white cream hot pants on.
It was just bizarre, this game. The highlights just switched from the rather crisp camera angles and the darkness to just blazing sunshine,
White shorts and
White
a potato
short.
quality camera.
potato quality camera. It was terrible. You watched it, Lewis, with us earlier, and you said, "Is that Lachlan Lamb?"
Yeah, because you couldn't see
You
it.
couldn't tell what was it. It was like 4 pixels running in some pink boots. Just see who it was. It was only the bleached tips on his hair that you could tell it was Lachlan Lamb.
But should we go back to the game? I think Ian Watson needs to be more worried about the fact that in 32 minutes they've lost the game. Let me just check the score. They've conceded 18 points and only scored 1 try in 32 minutes. As much as you can say we set for an 80-minute game, in the first 30 minutes of the second game, you conceded 3 tries. That's not good enough.
No, and it was a bit funny with like them subbing on Amon and Asiata straight away after they'd just been subbed off before the floodlight failure. But you're going to gain an advantage to do that. Nothing's stopping Huddersfield from bringing back on players they'd just subbed off.
What would Ian Watson's response be if they were winning 16-12 and the game got restarted?
Well, they would have found a way to moan.
Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah, it's Huddersfield haven't been good enough all season, have they?
No.
We've said this, I know I backed them early and people were laughing at me and all the rest of it, but I said it for that. I still stand by it. They've got a good squad, they've got good players,
Yeah.
but they've not performed this season, and Watson is not, in my opinion, is not making the best account for himself by finding things to mourn at, excuses to make. I've not seen him once yet just say we've not been good enough this season, and I feel like he's kind of trying to work his way around the truth. He needs to get to the hard facts of it. His team and his players haven't been good enough.
No, he does say in that statement that he's made after the game that they weren't good enough. But it just feels like if you can see 3 tries like that, when you know what's coming and you know you need a try and response, you've only got yourself to blame. They knew they were going there for a 30-minute game to keep their season alive. For me, they're out now. They can't get the top 6.
If anything, it's probably better for them. We often talk in cricket about when the game's going away from you a bit.
You want breaks. You want it to stop.
You want half an hour rain delay just to gather your thoughts and think, right, when we go out here, we've got to go 100% and make some plans.
This
Bit
is
of a
our
reset.
plan.
Yeah, you're losing by 4 points for that half an hour. There, you think, right, we have a good half an hour today.
Leah guaranteed the playoffs. They don't want to come back and have to re-warm up and
Exactly,
redo everything. They want
exactly.
the day off and start planning for next week. Huddersfield are playing a 30-minute basic shootout for your life.
Yeah,
Shootout to survive.
I was disappointed with Huddersfield in this second game on the Sunday. I really thought they could have done something with like what we were saying with the natural break in play. I don't know. Ian Watson's got to be a bit of hot water, hasn't he?
Yeah.
No, we
Do
talked about
you
it
think they
before.
can still make the top 6?
No.
No,
I think it's over for them.
I thought it was over even if
Well,
this
Leeds
game.
have won. He was on similar,
I
the same
thought
points as them this
There was a
week.
3-horse race before this game, and 2 of those teams won. So
For me, I thought they were just hanging on and they had a chance. If things went right and they could win this week, funny things happen. They're too far away now and they can't do it.
there's no chance now. Well, can they even do it mathematically now, or is it?
Mathematically, they can if the results go their way. Hull KR are on 26 points.
They'd have to overcome a pretty strong points difference, though. They'd have to.
But you'd assume the only way they can get in is all them teams losing. So they'd drop points and Huddersfield would have to win their 3. They're
Yeah.
mathematically out for me.
And they do play Hull KR and Warrington, so I've got the fixtures against the 2 teams currently in those positions, but I can't see both those teams losing all 3 games anyway.
I can't. Should we move on to the next game?
Speaking of Hull KR,
Hull KR. Matty, last week didn't you say you were going to say Hull KR got the top 6 based on their home form?
well, you 2 said Salford. I wanted to go for Hull KR because of their home form, and then I backed them
Catalan. Hull KR. That wasn't your brightest move.
to win at Craven Park. But Craven Park is a tough place to go. I stand by what I said in that second section of the show. Green Park is a really tough place to play, and even though Catalan were okay in this game, better than they were against us, they were made to pay for some pretty poor defence, I think.
Well, Hull KR won 26 points to 18. The try scorers for Catalan were Fuajaha, Garcia and Navarrete.
Yeah, there's some big boys scored, didn't they,
Yeah.
for Catalan? And there was another big lad scored, but it got
Well, I
disallowed.
was just going to... Once they've gone through...
Was it Busquets or...
It was one of the forwards.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. For me, it looks like he scores. And if it's on Sky...
It's a try, I think.
Well, they definitely look at it. Don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And then he gives knock-on.
Thaler was in a good spot to rule it a knock-on.
But he gives knock-on and the winger for Hull KR picks it up and goes for the 20-metre restart. Because obviously, if you pick it up and don't pass, you get the quick 20-metre restart.
Yeah.
And then Manu Mao decides...
Just take his head off.
Just to take his head off. They stopped him.
Wow, was this game week so much comedy?
You know what? I didn't realise when I watched the replay. It was 20 points to 18 at that time. I thought there was like 3 or 4 minutes left and that he was trying to knock the ball out.
Yeah, because...
Do you want to know how long was left?
How long?
19 minutes.
It looked desperate, didn't it?
It looked desperate.
Tompkins made a desperate tackle as well, and same play.
But they were going to get 5-6 sets at Hull KR. Why are you trying to do that? And then from that sending off, Mikey Lewis scores with a brilliant wraparound play.
That was amazing. Who was it who made that wraparound numbers?
It was the 15.
Number 15.
Reece Kennedy.
Oh, what a play that was!
It was
That's
really,
nice
it
little
was
bit of
really
wasn't it?
clever.
That
Because
was
the
so
way
good.
he does it, he just takes Tompkins out of having any chance to get across to make
Yeah.
a tackle on Lewis.
It was really clever.
It was a brilliant play. But again, I found myself asking why.
If they had another man in the middle, they probably wouldn't have scored.
Yeah.
That,
Kenny Dowell. What an off.
yeah,
What a dummy.
Kenny Dell
try.
scored a great try in the first half.
We always talk about French's obscene dummies,
Yeah.
where it looks like it's going to hit the woman that Edwin Apape hit.
I was going to say, if you let score the ball, it's getting the Apape treatment in the first row in the teeth.
But this one is so subtle the way he does it. It's not a French dummy. It's just a little one with the hands.
Yeah.
And Kenny Dowell's showing why he was New Zealand Test centre for best part of 10 years.
Classic.
Yeah,
Well, that's
very
what it
good.
was, very
Like,
classic.
I mean, last few games for him of his career, he's
fighting for top 6.
yeah, he's where he wants to be, isn't he? Making things
He's
happen.
staying, isn't he? He's staying in Hull.
He's
on the
staying
coaching
on.
Yeah, he's
staff.
coaching, isn't he?
Stay
Yeah,
on.
he's coaching.
Of all the players that could leave Super League, could retire, him and Sam have got to be the hardest to replace.
Well, you mean they're both retiring at the same time, Sean Kinney-Dole and Sam?
Yeah.
Two greats here, two icons.
I know they're bringing in Gilly. They're bringing in Peter Hiku.
Yeah, good players.
This is one of the best centres there's been in the last 20 years.
Mm.
How many premierships did he win at the Roosters?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
At least one.
Did he win a World Cup? Did he play in the 08 team? I can't remember if he played in the 08 World Cup team. I'll have a look while we're here.
I'll have a look at that. But yeah,
He's one of the greats of rugby league, and
He's been a good servant for KR.
Been a
Very good
brilliant
servant. And the fact that they're getting him staying now, the experience and his leadership and the coaching staff, I think, is really good for him. So, yeah, it's massive for KR, that
no.
one.
Hull KR have obviously and Warrington are obviously 2 points clear of Salford and 4 of Leeds in the playoffs. Hull KR have got Huddersfield away, Salford at home, and Wakefield away. That puts them to Hull KR in the driver's seat for me. I know I predicted Salford to stay up, but Salford are gonna have to go to Hull KR and win because I can't see Huddersfield or Wakefield beating them. So it's on Salford to go and get a result at
They're doing well, KR, to be fair. This was a massive win against Catalan. Catalan looking to bounce back after a bad performance at their own ground from us. I know I did back OK, because I said Craven Park was a difficult place to go. But I think, yeah, they need some credit because, you know, getting to a Challenge Cup final makes it a long season.
Makes
Those
it a very
extra
long
games, that what it takes out of you physically, emotionally, mentally. So for them to now still be performing and still fighting because they know they've got something to play for is very good. So their fans will be proud and they should be.
Now, we go over to the KCOM, Hull FC vs Leeds. We said, with some hope, whoever wins could just about stay in the balance, could just about stay in the fight. Leeds have got the win. They're 4 points behind Hull KR. Obviously, Leeds will need to beat Wigan, Catalans and Cass to try and have a go at top 6.
Yeah.
But they did what they needed to. This wasn't the greatest game for defence, shall we say.
No.
Some poor reads, and I think the Sam Lasoni final try obviously gets a hat-trick.
The big bopper.
Yeah. Fair play to him. He didn't know how to celebrate his hat-trick.
He did eventually.
He did.
Like
Do you think
did-
someone whispered something to him?
He saluted the crowd eventually, but that was after standing like a statue for 30 seconds.
But
That hat-trick try was unbelievable, by the way.
it was. But I wouldn't be happy with our fullback making an attempt like that. You've got to try and... I know it's one-on-one with a prop.
That's why Jamie Shaw isn't our fullback.
Yeah.
And isn't Hull's regular fullback.
We talked about the video ref though. There was a couple of tries in this where you definitely would have gone to the video ref.
This will be a running theme.
First of all, the Luke, is it Howley or Hooley? Did you pronounce it?
Hooley.
He scores on the right hand side. Now he definitely has his foot in touch, but I don't know whether he's raised it by the time he collects the ball. It would have been very tight.
It would have been one for the super zoom.
His foot's definitely on the line, but you can't
he's
really see
running
if he has got hold of the ball, or if he's ran out to the field, but then come back in.
So this
the
is
field
one that
to
if
pick
it
the
was on
ball up.
Sky, definitely gets looked at. And then the final try for Hull FC, Cameron Scott scores in the corner.
Yeah, it was.
He looked a guilty man, didn't he?
I think.
Oh no, sorry, no, it wasn't the last try. It was the second one.
No,
It was Harvey
Barron.
Sorry.
I don't know if it was guilty, but he definitely looked like he was looking at the ref to try, and he wasn't sure, was he?
No, he
type
wasn't
thing.
celebrating.
He kind of just went, he kind of looked up as if to say, what's he going to give here?
He
And
did
I
the
went,
Sam
"Give it a
Lasoni."
try," didn't he?
If you showed these, I'm looking at the teams here. If you showed these teams to some Leeds and Hull FC fans at the start of the season, you're full of optimism. Hull FC got a new coach, got Tony Smith, Rowan Smith, got to the final last year. If you showed these teams and said, right, you're fighting for the playoffs, here's your team, you'd be laughed. At. Think about this. I mean, the names alone are names who haven't played many games. You think Roberts is in there, Hooley's in there. I mean, not the biggest fans of Daryl Alford, so they're Leeds fans, but
No.
Reece Martin was at 6. That half-back pairing of Reece Martin and Jack Sinfield. You know, you had Sam Walters been playing every game. Leon Ruan on the bench. Hull
For me, you only have to look at the squad numbers.
Hull are a bit stronger, but I mean, they still had in the back line Harvey Barron and Jamie Shaw.
Look at the squad numbers for me. If you pick your 1 to 17,
Well,
Super
League doesn't do squad numbers, Super League website, because it's
well,
stupid.
I can go through it now. Outside of the 17, Leeds had number 18 Tom Alroy, 19 James McDonald, 20 Morgan Gannon, 21 Luke Hooley, 22 Sam Walters, 24 Lewis Roberts, 25 James Donaldson, 29 Jack Sinfield, 31 Leon Rowan. Outside of that, for Hull FC, outside of the 17, they had number 26 Harvey Barron, 29 Jimmy Shaw, 30 Scott Taylor, 33 Brad Dwyer, 20 Jack Brown. Usually you expect your team to be picked at the start of the season and be numbered 1 to 17, and your 17 to probably be as strong as they come. Whether you've got starting prop or whatever. And you look at Wigan and Mago has been number 20 this year, but he's played every game. So there are the odd exceptions to it.
And we obviously don't have a number 18.
But it's not often you see a team lose, especially in Leeds' case, especially to see them lose Blake Austin, the number 6, to another club. Cruz Lehman, the number 9. Aidan Caesar's missed half the games through injury, the number 7.
Richie Miles.
And Myler's now out.
Miles
the
out as
fullback.
well now.
I don't think Leeds fans will be disappointed at necessarily the players or they've played. I might be wrong. I think they're going to be more disappointed at the state the club's in. I know we said this a bit last week, but for a top club with recent history and what they achieved last season getting to the grand final, to then back it up with this, like you say, players leaving, chairman and coach doesn't seem to be on the same page, there's friction going on and hostility. I think the fans were disappointed, thinking this was the season we should have been building, and it's all kind of fell to pieces.
Yeah.
But then,
So
look, and Tex Hoy was named on the bench
Yeah.
for Hull.
But we saw Jamie Shaw had that attempt on Sam Lisoli,
yeah,
didn't
at
he?
the end.
Wasn't
So,
Tex Hoy.
so Tex Hoy was brought on somewhere else. But then you look, who's the starting six? Truman, who's unfortunately picked up another big injury after only just coming back. Really, was he back for about 10 weeks?
It's a shame.
He just can't seem to get any luck, really. But they're going to lose the star man next year, Clifford.
Yeah.
And it's another rebuild. And they've brought in the lad from Newcastle, haven't they? Hull FC, I forget his name now. His name's escaped.
Newcastle, he's going to Leeds. Miller.
No, is it not Clune? Adam Clune.
Oh, another lad from Newcastle, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to Hull. But you just get the feeling that if he does well, the NRL's going to be coming back for the halfback that they let go. Or Brodie Croft as another Aussie halfback that might go back. But obviously they've got him on a 2-year deal, so it'll be much easier to get him than it is Brodie Croft out of a 6-year deal. I don't see the longevity, the long-term planning. Who's the long-term now? The rumours are that Brad Dwyer is leaving Hull. Danny Houghton must be leaving soon. Scott Taylor's just left. Announced he's retiring.
Joe Loverdale was the future of that position for a while, but he seems to have turned into more of
A second rower loose forward.
Yeah. Back rower.
Andre Savelio leaving. Adam
Yes.
Swift leaving. Who?
Why is he letting Adam Swift go, by the way? He finishes everything. They're trying to trade him in for a younger model in Liam Tyndall, but
They need another winger anyway.
I've just said Sam Lisoni scored as many tries as Liam Tyndall has in his career. He only had one before this week. I like Adam Swift. I think he's still a good player. He's still got plenty left in the tank. He scored a great try this game.
I can't see where the long term planning is. Should we move on to the second game on Saturday? Now this, I said it wasn't the best game defensively from Hull Leeds.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't the best defensive game from Castleford. Warrington winning 66 points to 12.
Yeah.
The scary thing for this,
It
for
was
me,
18-12.
it was 18-12
With about half an hour
with
left.
30 minutes left.
That is ridiculous. How can you do that?
How can you concede 38 points in 30 minutes when you're 6 behind and you know you need a win? If you get a win, you're safe.
Not just that, Tom, because I said last week about the points difference.
Yeah.
If you get beat, you get beat close. Because I said Cass could conceivably lose to the next 3 teams by big margins. You need that not to happen. You need to have effectively 3 points gap on Wakefield because your points difference is 40 better than them and you've got to win. So that they're going into the last game without a chance. Now, they've given them a chance again because they've opened the door with the points difference way.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that you would capitulate so...
Oh, it's come off the back of a Jacob Miller sin binning. But in that time that he was off, they conceded 3 tries and it took it to 36-12. But you're just thinking, can we just shut shop though? Take our medicine, we'll take 20-point hit.
That's not far off what Wakefield lost by.
Yeah.
Just
You
damage
stay the same.
limitation.
But the implosion at the end, I can't even list all the try scorers, but there was 2 for Williams, 2 for Vaughan.
Some of the efforts on Vaughan were just not good enough, were they?
Well, the first one for me in particular, I watched the highlights of this before you guys. I'll just point out they actually went 6-0 up as well.
Yeah, that was a nice try.
Cass with a nice try from Sam Hall. But the Paul Vaughan first try, you think sometimes a big prop near the line, crash over, the 9 scooted, he's on his inside shoulder, they've isolated a man 1-on-1.
Yeah, they've got bodies moving inside and
They
then
just haven't.
they've not
They
known.
give Vaughan the ball 10 metres out, he picks a defender, runs at him.
Of course.
Jacob Miller jumps past him, one falls off, and I think it's Widdop who then tries to impact the tackle. He's not going to stop him 1-on-1. How can you concede that?
There's 2 things that's caused this. One or both combined. But there's 2 factors at play here. One is fatigue, because defending is tiring, and obviously when you're conceding points left, right and centre, you keep kicking the ball back to the opposite team and they keep running at you and you've got to defend some more. So one's fatigue, or 2, they've given up.
Yeah.
Now, it's either all those things, but it's a combination of
be
both.
Yeah, it could be
A
both.
combination of both. They're going up because they're tired and fatigued.
The
but
first one you say, the fatigue and the tiredness, that's a worry. Because you're 24 games into the season and you should be match fit. The second one is even worrying.
Yeah.
It's even more worrying. If they have given up, if they have said, what are we doing here? Let's just pack our bags and go home now. That's even worse because you should be fighting for that shirt. The performances they've put in this year haven't been good enough. What happens if Wakey win next week and you lose and they're back above you by points difference and you've got Wigan at the DW? You cannot put in a performance like that at all. It's so worrying. I can't explain it. Some of them tries.
Danny Ward's got his work cut out for him.
Matt Duffy scores off an offload. And he steps back in and 3 players run away from him. They go the wrong way. Yeah. Everyone knows Matt Duffy's big thing is his pace, his agility. When he hits that offload, and I'm not saying I'm a professional rugby player, but my first thought is I want to get as close as I can to him. Because if he beats me with a pass, I'm not expecting that.
And the problem is as well, all 3 of them went the same way. Yeah. So that's just lack of team cohesion, isn't it?
Who's
not
the guy
knowing the responsibilities?
My opinion most of the time is quite simple. Deal with the issue at hand.
Yeah, if he passes it, there's nothing you can do.
We'll talk about it with full-backs when they're 2-on-1. Just take the man with the ball, because if he passes, he passes. You can't do anything about it. The interception looks good, but take the man with the ball.
Take the man with the ball, yeah.
Don't...
We'll talk about full-back in a bit.
Well, he might throw a cut-out pass and he try and dive in the corner. If he dives in the corner, it's 4 and he has to kick for 6. And it's great play. He could knock on. The only way Duffy can't score is by just picking the ball up and running over.
That's what he's
just
done.
Deal with the issue first.
He's picked the ball up and he's run under the sticks and nobody's even bothered trying to tackle him. That shouldn't happen in a game, should it?
No. It's so worrying. And if he does that, he should have stepped 5 people, leave them all on the floor, and you go, oh my God, how's he scored that?
What a try. Yeah, it wasn't though.
He just went, he scored.
He picked it up, he scored, and he almost looked shocked at how easy it was, so I just put it down.
The Darryl Clark try. The Cassiano gets an arm free. Darryl Clark's offloads Darryl Clark, and Clark's running at Wood at the fullback.
This was one of Cassiano's
big games.
Game where he thought he was Darren Lockyer again.
But
usually against us, so
you're watching him and you're going, just take the man with the ball. Just take the man with the ball. And he's sat and he's like shimmying, trying to cover an interception, and then he's grasping at shirts. Deal with the issue at hand. Clark's got the ball, and just say to yourself, I'm going to deal with this issue. If he passes, it's not my fault that I'm dealing with a 3-on-1. It is your fault that you've let someone step you, and you lied on the floor looking silly. I can't defend anything from...
No. Danny Ward's going to work quite for him as Castleford coach. I don't know. It's going to be very hard for him to pick his players up now after a heavy defeat like that. And I don't know who they've got next week, but it's going to be wherever they're playing. It's going to be hard. So
Hull FC, then Wigan, and then Leeds.
So not easy in these last 3 games.
No,
so
we talked about Wigan at full back. Sorry, I've got to go back to it. The George Williams try. George isn't the quickest halfback in the world. And we rounds Wigan up for fun.
And he's got support as well. He didn't need to do that.
And I don't know whether that's me because we've got used to full-backs like Field and French and Wellesby at Saints and
Duffy himself, recovery pace,
who can cover yardage.
But Sam's not as quickest, then he would have had a go at stopping it.
Yeah, don't let him. Just take the man. Oh, I can't talk about that game anymore because I can't even read anything into Warrington off it.
No, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting point you make actually about Warrington.
Can you read anything to that? Because at 20 points to 18 when he gets Simbin, you might as well have got a team of us lot. We could have put points on against Cass at that point.
What this will do for Warrington is it'll build that confidence back up when they're feeling bad, which again I know Gary Chambers said it was all about doing a very dark place and he was saying we've got to pick these guys or we've got to make them start feeling good. And they've had a couple of wins now, so still in the playoffs.
They've got to go to Salford next.
That'll be an
Yeah,
interesting one.
Interesting
If
game.
they can beat Salford, that'll pick them right.
I think that guarantees them top 6.
Well,
Probably guarantees them.
guarantee them
it
top
doesn't
6.
guarantee them 5 or 6 because it depends on OKR.
Yeah.
But Salford will be up for that, knowing, although they've got 4 players banned as we've found out.
Hull KR have got an easier fixture running. They've got to play Huddersfield, Salford, and Wakey. And Warrington have got to play Salford, Saints, and Huddersfield. So they both play Salford, they both play Huddersfield. The only difference is one's playing Saints and one's playing Wakefield. So second or bottom. You know, there is an easier run in there for KR. Salford's running is quite tough, but they do play those 2 teams. So if they win those back to back, they're back in the race, haven't they? They've got to beat Catalan, but they're back in the race.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So good.
So, like you say, for all 3, it's in their own hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Salford play the key here because they play KR and Wire, as you said. If they win both of them, they get top 6.
Yeah. I'm sure I just said that.
And it's just like but that's just absolutely mad that obviously they've lost, and you'd think Salford will be a bit down that they've now dropped out of the 6. But anyone could win it. Anyone could sneak in, and then imagine if Warrington have to go to League. Would you be surprised that they turn them over
that would be a good game.
with the firepower of Williams, Duffy, Vaughan, Darryl Clark? They can beat anyone.
And who knows, Warrington going to League, that could be wow. With the winner of that, we'll probably play top.
I just find myself amazed that I'm looking at any one of them 3 and going, if they get in, they could do something special.
They could. You're right.
Right, last game, Wakey versus Saints, 16 points to 32. It was 6-6, went to 20 points to 6, and then Saints just managed to keep that lead. The one thing that I really do need to bring up, you both follow Super League on Twitter, don't you?
Yeah.
And they like to post a couple of the tries mid-game. Go and have a look at the James Roby try if you get a couple of minutes. They posted that James Roby had got his first try of the season in the
His
Wakefield
final
game.
season, wasn't
in
it?
his final season. And they actually didn't show the try.
Well, might have been because there was an offside in the build-up, Tom.
Yeah, I do think there was, but it's not going to change it whether they show it or not.
No.
They just show Roby on the floor, and then he gets up and walks back.
I can't believe that.
It's like
Roby's already on the floor.
Someone's clipped it up wrong, haven't they? And they've not checked.
Here's Roby not scoring his first try.
He's already scored it.
Here's Roby seconds after scoring his first try.
And I just like,
He's already on the floor.
I watched the entire thing and I went, they're going to show a replay, aren't they, after it? And they just didn't.
There was no replays.
But tries for Saints, 2 from Makinson, James Roby, obviously, Benison, Lewis Dodd, and Lomax getting tries.
We talk about the Benson try. What was Sam Eze doing?
When he'd already scored and tried to push him over the line.
He tried. He scored a try.
It's like a weird half dive
I know.
ankle tap thing you tried to do.
Benison scored and then started running off towards the crowd. And Eze must have thought, I can tackle him here. Not realising he'd already scored. And then halfway through the tackle attempt, like me when I was running to the bathroom because I thought I was late for work, pulled out of it and just fell over. This was such a comedy week for rugby league.
The clips and highlights.
Yeah.
And, what's going on?
At least it wasn't comedy for like, well, Ken Seo falling in a pothole or Colin Tellis getting
remember that one?
Yeah, that was the same week as
Seo's
Gordon.
pothole in training.
But there is one moment that's obviously going to affect Saints. Conrad Hurrell's got a 1-game ban
Yeah.
for a late shot.
Well, it will affect Saints a bit, but it'll affect Wakefield a lot more because
Will Dagger's now out with a
broken collarbone. Dagger's done presumably for the season with a broken collarbone. So
Yeah, now, I do have an issue with this. Because they've done him for a late hit. I don't think he can pull out of it. It's not late in the traditional sense of the ball's gone and the game's played on and then he's hitting. I actually think it's more the fact that he doesn't wrap his arms that I was concerned about. But then to see that he'd been charged for a late hit was a bit of a surprise. I really don't think it was that late. Obviously the ball's gone. But he's committed all the way. if they'd have banned him for not wrapping the arms, I could see that. Obviously, without looking at multiple replays, and I could see why they'd give that. But for me, it's just not. It's not late. What do you want him to do? Not put the pressure on. Just go. Here, Will.
Yeah, but it's a hard one, isn't it? Because yes, his momentum is taking him into the player, but he's made a choice to swing his arm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've charged him for being late. I don't think he's late. He is, obviously, but he's not seconds late.
No, but we've talked about before. There's a way to tackle somebody late, and it's
the fact that he doesn't wrap the arms.
Wrapping your arms.
And it would be more of a shoulder charge that I thought he would get charged with.
I think it's semantics. I think you're getting him for a late hit, whereas if he'd have run up and hugged him, he would have got in trouble. I don't think. I think it's more the action of he still swings his arm.
We've talked about this before though as well. I don't get what on earth would possess you. And when you know that's all you have to do, why would you run in and shoulder charge someone?
No.
I do not get it.
But, so what do we think about Super League now then? Bit of a precarious position, really.
I was.
I got that word wrong, didn't I?
You tried to choose between two words.
I know I did.
What do you want to say?
I don't know.
It's
I've gone blank now.
interesting. Let's use that.
Yeah, interesting.
3-horse race at the top, all on level points, and within reasonable striking distance, points different
But
wise.
what I mean is everyone had sort of already dealt with the fact that Catalans were going to get top.
A few weeks ago, yeah.
Wigan, Saints and League were fighting for second, third and fourth, and then what was going to happen at the bottom and what was going to happen with the top six. We've now got a 3-horse race in the middle. Leeds seem to just be slotted in at fourth and have gone a bit quiet, really.
Warrington can still just
Mathematically finish.
Well, I don't know. Warrington, I think, will fancy themselves to have a go.
Well, as it stands, the 4 points behind with 3 games left.
Yeah, so Lee have got to win another game.
And Lee's games are Saints, Wakey, Wigan.
So they have to win that Wakey game, don't they?
If they win the Wakey game, I think they get it. Where Warrington will have to play Saints, Salford, and Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Saints will need the win.
Yeah.
So you could see a slip. I think Lee are safe in fourth.
Yeah, I do as well.
But I think that's probably been more representative how the league's been. A top 3, Lee who've been the best of the rest.
Yeah.
And then
another 3.
Another 3 in Warrington, Hull KR and Salford being the next 3 best teams.
Yeah.
I think that's probably more realistic than Catalans seem to have been running away with it.
I don't think Catalan have ever been running away with it, really. They look like they were for a time.
They just always had that 4-point gap, haven't they? They just kept it.
Don't think it. I mean, I backed Hull KR this week because I said Craven Pett was an hard place to go, but I don't think many people have been backing him for back-to-back defeats when they were 4 points clear. They might have saw him slipping up in one game, but then probably would expect him to come back quite quick.
I think a lot of people probably expected him to handle business at home against us last week.
Yeah.
And maybe a close win, but I think you're probably expecting.
It'd be interesting in the last couple of games if they can get themselves out of this, because they do not want to be tumbling and taking a fall. In a free fall.
In your Catalan, you've got the perfect game, haven't you? Friday, Wakefield away.
You want to finish second if you're Catalan at the very minimum, because you want to host
the home semi.
The semi-final. You want to be able to win a game at home and get to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Right, that wraps up Super League. We're going to come back in a short time to have a look at the NRL as they set up for their playoffs. Some big shocks there, and we'll do predictions after that. So thank you. So, the NRL's normal season has come to an end. We'll quickly fly through the table. Penrith have obviously won the minor premiership on the same points as the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah.
Who have come second on 42 points. Melbourne have finished third on 38, with the Warriors fourth on 38 as well. Both of them decided by points difference. The Newcastle Knights came in fifth.
What a Cinderella story that is. They were like with the Bulldogs at one point. And then it was, maybe they'll become eighth, and then the fifth.
Yeah.
Home semi-final, home quarter-final, sorry.
The Sharks on 34. The Roosters, who were dead and buried after round 10, have snuck in at 7th on 32 points, and the Raiders have made the 8th on 32.
They hung on.
Can you believe the team sneaking in the 8th on minus 137 points
Well,
difference?
but they were on minus 137 before and they were 5th, so
I know,
I can
it's
get
just
it.
mad. And then missing out, obviously, the Rabbitohs, the Eels, the Cowboys have all finished on 30. Manly finished in 12th on 29th. The Dolphins, I will apologise.
Manly didn't finish 29th.
They finished 12th on 29 points, sorry.
Give it a few years, that's so many teams in the NRL will have.
The Dolphins finished in 13th on 24 points, meaning they got 12 wins.
Well, there was a couple of buys in there, presumably, but they won more than 3 games.
Yeah, made me look silly. They beat the Warriors.
Yeah, Finn's up
they
there.
beat
Lewis.
the Titans.
The hammer.
Beat St George. Beat Cronulla. Gold Coast again. Beat North Queensland. And obviously the 3 that they started with was beating the Roosters, the Raiders and the Knights. So that means 9 wins. Is that a good first season for the Dolphins?
I think so. I think it's a good platform to build on.
Yeah.
Squad depth is
Squad
the
depth
next issue, isn't it? They've got to fix that this off-season. But yeah, it's a good platform to build on. I think for Bennett and Wolf, they'll be okay. I mean, their attendances are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got over 30,000 members already, season ticket holders. So they're amazing attendances. I mean, the NRL this year, every single club has had an average attendance much greater than last year and much greater than the past 10 years.
Is that a sign showing that getting all the games on TV, getting it to a bigger audience, more games, and then from the TV... Because the argument here is more games on TV, the attendances drop.
I think for me it's a sign that there's been a lot of good rugby played, there's been a lot of close games, and people have been out wanting to watch that. I think we had the highest attendance last week, 13,000, and yet that J Field try goes on Twitter and everybody says, oh, the stadium's empty, oh, they did not bother turning up to watch this, or they all gone for a pie. It's the highest attendance in the league, you know, but we still get laughed at. It's because the stadium's too big. But they're filling that every week.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, what we do a couple of times a year.
But then in 14th was the Gold Coast Titans, who actually sat Justin Holbrook when they were sat in 9th because they weren't in the 8th at the midway season. That
On
is a
points
massive
difference.
dropout. On points difference. That's just looking like a worse and worse decision. And they've managed to... Holbrook's gone to the Roosters as an assistant next year. That's a great pickup for them.
You don't know what Hasler's going to do, but it was definitely the wrong decision to
At the time.
for
For this season.
For this season.
The Bulldogs in 15th. Players walking out on training because of too much wrestling. Have you seen Josh Morris' comments today?
Josh Morris.
Josh Morris, the ex-Bulldog player. The lads are soft nowadays. You're a professional athlete.
I'm not sure they're all soft.
You should see what he basically said. You should see what Desi Adder's doing when we'd had a bad performance or a bad season, wrestling 20 or 30 people back to back until you couldn't move because you hadn't put in a performance was what's expected. And he's basically said that when you don't perform, why are you complaining that the training session's hard? Which I actually back. For me, you deserve that easier session because you've performed well and you've put in a shift. If you're not putting a shift in the weekend, getting a smashing in training is what you've sort of come to expect, really, isn't it?
It's a very I've been watching some of the NRL 360 clips on this, and a couple of the pundits over there have said they were telling similar stories to what Josh Morris has said. You know, they had him doing court angles, running up, sprinting up and down the field, running around the post consecutively, doing Malcolms, doing all sorts like for a bad. But it seems like again, this is the problem I think Gus Gould now has got and the coach there, where they're paying big money to attract players, but are they going there to win and be competitive? Are they going there for the paycheck and turn into stars who throw the toys at the Prem when it don't go their way?
We've had that conversation before, haven't we?
Need to get the right characters into the squad, not the right players necessarily. Well, right players, but they need some leaders, they need some characters, some
I like the fact that they brought Crichton in.
culture.
Crichton's your X factor though.
He's your X factor.
He's not your like.
They should have gone and got Happy.
Follow me into battle captain, which is what Happy is probably.
Yeah, they got Kick out.
Yeah.
They're apparently going to lose Thompson, who was taking up a major wage.
Yeah.
As the story goes, letting Sutton go. So they've got room on the cap to bring in the right people. But like we talked about agents before, if you know they need the right man, and let's pick a Ben Hunt at the Dragons. He would massively improve the Bulldogs as a leader.
He's only going to go at this
How
point in
much
his
is he gonna
career.
cost?
He's only going to go somewhere to compete. He's not going to
Yeah,
go to the
that's what I
Bulldogs.
mean. And how much is he going to cost? He's going to cost an awful lot on your cap.
I also think the Dragons have kidnapped him. They're not letting him leave.
Yeah, that could be a case.
I think they need someone like, James Graham played for them for years. Played in the 2014 Grand Final. I think they need another player like that.
And
Someone who goes in, leadership, vocal, picks the players up around him, doesn't accept bad performances, set the standards for the team, for the club, for the training sessions.
You've a fella retiring mid-season saying he's going to do boxing age 27. I think his parents pushed him into rugby league and all this. What?
After getting an Origin call, I think
Playing Origin?
I think Gould and Serraldo. It feels awful saying this if you're looking as a Bulldogs fan, that they've been, since the loss to the Rabbitohs in 14, I think it was, they've not really competed at that level again. But Serraldo's a great pick from the Panthers.
Yeah, well,
He knows what it takes to set up a winning culture. You just
Well,
can't do it
Gus
overnight.
does as well.
And so does Gus. You've got to back them two to get it right.
Gus has done it twice. This is his third goal, really.
Yeah, I think you've got to back Serraldo. It's just going to take time to get players off big money contracts, get the right people in, set up the academy setups that it takes. It's going to take time. And then
Bottom two.
St George and West Tigers. I don't think there's much we can say about these two. that we
Everybody's
haven't already
predicted bottom two at the start of the year, probably in that order as well, to be fair.
said.
Although
And
people
I
were
don't
picking,
think they'll be a million miles away from it next year
people were
either.
picking the Dolphins, I know, down there, but those were my bottom two.
Now, Matty, you showed us something interesting before of what's changed from the top 8 this year
Yeah.
to the top 8 last year.
Well, 5 of the 8 teams that made the playoffs last year made it again this year,
Yeah.
which is
Usually the case.
probably about
Obviously,
right for you.
Penrith,
Yeah,
Melbourne,
Penrith, Melbourne,
um,
Sydney Roosters,
Cronulla,
Cronulla,
the Raiders.
the Raiders, and one more.
No, that's the 5.
We've got them all. Right. So those 5 are in again, and there's 3 swaps, which is probably about what you'd expect, but you'd expect those 3 swaps to be 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th from last year.
Yeah, you'd expect between 6 to maybe 13 to
Yeah.
change.
In effect, the Broncos have finished 2nd, having come 9th last year. The Warriors, this is the biggest swing, have come 4th after finishing 15th. And that was only when there were 16 teams. They finished second bottom, 15th to come 4th. The Knights, who were only one place better, they finished 14th last year. They're now 5th. So those 3 teams have jumped up. Well, the Warriors have jumped up 11 places. The Knights 9 and the Broncos 7. And then you think about who's dropped out to make way for them. It's not the teams near the bottom. Well, the Rabbitohs, to be fair, they did finish 7th last year and did finish 9th. So that's not such a big swing. That's something you might
But-
expect.
Could you say that 7th to first mid-season?
Oh, they were first mid-season, yeah, I
To 9th.
suppose, yeah.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, but last year's...
Could he get sacked?
Oh.
Dimitri,
I think
you were first.
No, they've just got rid of his 2 assistants.
we've talked before about clubs. We've talked about Leeds before and all the stuff going on with clubs, and I feel like they had something go very, very drastically wrong too late where they couldn't.
Is
bring
this
it back
because
and
of
fix
Wayne
it.
Bennett that no one has ever been able to take
No.
over a club after?
I don't know. It's a good
Because-
question.
Because no one seems to take over a club after Bennett leaves
No.
and make them better. Because he is the master of...
Yeah. It's Alex Ferguson, in fact.
Yeah.
You don't want that hanging around the club, but that went on with the Sam Burgess and I can't think of
John
his name
Morris.
now, John
Morris,
Morris,
yeah,
the other
Morris.
assistant.
Latrell being
leading
banned
the-
every week.
especially Latrell's been banned, they've been hit with some
Yeah.
injuries, and the fact of it again, sacking the assistants is one thing, but when it's come out that they've actually questioned the integrity of the club and again the standards, that's on show and almost undermine the coach and the players and the club in a way. Again, I've been watching some clips and, apparently Sam Burgess has had it out with Russell Crowe and everything over the phone around it and things. So it seems like it's been an awful hostile environment down at the Rabbitohs, and it came towards the end of the season when you want to be spiking, peaking,
Yeah.
not when you want to collapse.
You normally hear things like that in round 5, round 6.
And that
There was no time to recover for them.
that was actually the result on this list that looked the most normal. And yet it's the one we had to talk about the most, 7th and 9th from last year. The Cowboys and the Eels were last year's top 4.
I think the Eels have struggled with injuries.
3rd and 4th last year they
Timing.
finished. They both got a second chance. They've come to 11th and 10th this year.
The Eels, for me, they've had some big injuries. Obviously, Hodgson retiring mid-season.
Yeah, he was a big money
The
signing for them.
Dylan Brown situation. Mosley's then called up and not having the halves, and Gutho being the consistent. Seavor's had 2. I think he's had 2 4-week bans.
Yeah.
They've also had a very, very tough draw. They've played a lot. Obviously, you don't play each team home and away. They've had a lot of the top 6 twice, which is always difficult.
But what about the Cowboys?
The Cowboys.
3rd place to 11th.
Remember, they were outside the playoffs at the start. They then got themselves in the mix.
Yeah, and they got out of it again.
And then imploded again.
Yeah.
They seem to do really, really well around Origin and then just absolutely implode.
What do you think about Todd Payton then? It's a tough job.
I think they overachieved last year.
Yeah, but that could go against him. We've seen it do that for coaches before.
So I think he's going to get another year because there isn't anyone else to take over. We're not sat with eight or 9 coaches out of jobs.
No, yeah, sure. Yeah.
But in reality, that team that finished 3rd probably shouldn't have finished 3rd last year, in my opinion.
No, but then it also probably shouldn't have finished 11th this season.
7th and 7th would have been right.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So that's an interesting thing, that the actual dynamics of the swing between last year's playoffs and this year's playoffs, the contenders, 5 of them are the same, and only 3 have swapped, but wild big shifts in league positions for those guys. I mean, the play of Sean Johnson, surely he's the Dally M winner. Who saw this coming out of this season for Sean Johnson?
Well, who saw this for the Warriors?
Well, yeah.
I saw some improvement because they got the home fixtures back, but to finish 4th, and they're going to get, if they don't make it through the first game, they're going to get a second chance in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That Mount Smart is going to be absolutely bouncing if that happens.
And there's been a lot of conversations this week about New Zealand All Blacks versus the Warriors, and how actually the people of New Zealand, and especially the people of Auckland, would rather see the Warriors do well than the All Blacks, because the All Blacks have been there and done it and won it 5 times.
This is something new, isn't it?
The Warriors have never come close to winning the NRL.
Well, they got close originally, didn't they? And then it's been 20 years.
They've been to a final once, but not for a long time. So I think it almost means more to the people of New Zealand for the Warriors to... I mean, put a second team in New Zealand, surely. But it's a big country, 2 islands. I think put a team in Christchurch. I don't see why not. The passion for it is there. Think about the crowds they've been getting.
I think for me, a little bit of me worries if they put another team there that you split
The
you
loyalties
track
of
the
the fan
loyalties. While you've got such up the wires, the mania around that.
Yeah,
Keep it going.
Yeah, but
and build and try and take up. Obviously, they're never going to overtake the All Blacks.
there is that in Brisbane though as well. Like there is one team in Brisbane. I mean, the Brisbane Lions are successful, but the Brisbane Raw not really. But the Brisbane Broncos have been that since the early 90s. They've been that team. Everybody in Brisbane goes for the Bronx. You put the Dolphins in, well, they're getting 30,000 members just from people who love rugby league in Brisbane. I think it's not like what we think of it like what we would think. Like if
this is an entire country.
If Wigan had been a team forever, and then Lee was a new team, we wouldn't go and support them. Nobody in Wigan would. But this isn't Wigan and Lee. This is an entire nation.
I suppose you could imagine a rivalry of. They're obviously Auckland and Christchurch are on different
The
islands.
North
aren't they?
and South Island, yeah.
Imagine them 2 derbies.
It should be brilliant. Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, go for it.
Get them in. They want more teams. The next team's going to be... They're so weird with the teams, man. It's going to be the Bears, but it's going to be North Sydney and Perth. Like, those will be the 2 places they play.
Have they ruled out the PNG team?
No, they've not ruled it out. There could be a PNG team in there. The Johns brothers were pushing for that, playing Port Moresby. That's the way it's going,
So
isn't
have they
it?
confirmed then which team? Because obviously they're on
Not
bye
yet.
weeks now because they want to make it. So they're not confirmed who is becoming the new franchise.
It's not next year, it's the year after.
That's what I heard.
Right.
I heard they were going to give the Dolphins 2 years.
It's 25, yeah. 25.
And that's when Christian Wolf is going to take over. Maybe Wayne Bennett.
Wayne Bennett's not being moved. He's not starting again, sure.
Maybe he just becomes the master of setting up new clubs. I've heard stranger things. But some results that I want to just quickly mention. Brisbane played Melbourne. They both rested loads. Brisbane wanted to lose, from what I understand, so that they didn't play Melbourne because Melbourne have a ridiculous record against the Broncos. But instead they lost out in the minor premiers.
And the Warriors lost as well.
Oh, the Warriors lost as well, meaning that Melbourne still finished third, meaning that Brisbane are going to play Melbourne anyway.
They were backing Warriors to win, but then the Warriors
Lost.
handed out 5 debuts and lost.
Yeah. And then Brisbane have missed out on winning the minor premiers because they've rested the players to avoid Melbourne and still got Melbourne. It's such a strange...
Yeah, not a great decision from Kevy there. Although his players are all well rested and there's no mandatory 11-day stand-out for any of them, there's no head knocks and things like that.
So are Melbourne.
Yeah, so are Melbourne.
Because Melbourne rested everyone.
And
to try
so are
and
the
finish.
Warriors, and so are the Panthers, so it doesn't matter, does it? But if you played your first team and won and come top,
but Melbourne
but
rested
you lost 2 players to head injuries that
Yeah.
don't play in the first. It's a balancing act, isn't it?
But Melbourne rested everyone to try and lose to Brisbane, so Brisbane would finish top and they'd get 4th and play Brisbane next week.
Yeah, this team's trying to lose. I don't know.
But then
Weird.
the other game is obviously the Rabbitohs and the Roosters to decide who makes the top 8.
Yeah.
The Book of Feuds.
Right, I want to talk about Roosters fans for a minute because these guys, they're so entitled. They need to stop moaning. So they've been drawn away at Shark Park for the first round of the playoffs because they finished 6th and the Sharks finished 5th. Yeah?
No, it was 7th and 6th.
7th and 6th, right, yeah. So 7th plays 6th away. So they finished 7th and the Sharks finished 6th. They're moaning because Shark Park only holds about 18,000. Saying, oh, we should play it at a bigger stadium in Sydney. Like their home stadium.
No.
You don't get to choose where to play just because they've only got their only small market team and
But that's
back end of absolutely nowhere.
But
you have
that's
to walk
why
through a housing
Cronulla's
estate.
brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. Get
The
to
Bermuda
Cronulla.
Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Go and play there.
The Shire, all the names it's got, the Shark Park, is cool. I was at Shark Park for my 21st birthday. I've been twice. The other time I went, they were shooting T-shirts from cannons and you had to catch it in a wheelie bin because they were sponsored by a wheelie bin company. That's a cool
brilliant.
stadium. There was a no try for the team they were playing against. I can't remember who it was. It was a no try. And the talent announcer just went, justice. Because it didn't get given. That's where you want to be.
They still play the Jaws theme music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up Cronulla after the game, boys in the black, white and blue. It's a cool stadium. You stand on the hill. Why would you not want? Why would you not want playoffs there? Stop being so entitled. Small market teams can host playoff games.
And again, the Raiders go to the Knights.
Yeah.
That's going to be bouncing.
It's called McDonald Jones Stadium or something.
When was the last time they had finals footy, the Knights?
It certainly wouldn't have been at home, I don't think.
Wouldn't have been for a long time. I think the last few times they've had finals footy that they would have snuck in at 8th or 7th and been away.
Yeah.
A home eliminator final.
That place will be packed.
It'll be absolutely bouncing. It was at least before 2018. So we're talking 6-7 years minimum.
By the way, trying to say about we've just mentioned the Knights. If we have not seen Dom Young's try in the game they played this week, you need to go and watch the finish. It is exceptional.
I mean, he should be the poster boy for English Rugby League, shouldn't he?
Just
Let's be honest.
that video.
Just that video.
It's a 20-second clip. He has no right to score.
In fact, forget that. If you want to hype people up and get tickets sold for England v Tonga, Dom Young 2023 tries.
Yeah.
Just give people that YouTube link. Because he's scored some freakish ones, hasn't he, already?
Oh, and distance and kick.
The
He
ones
scored
he did-
every time to try.
The ones he did in the World Cup, that one where he scored in the first game, where he went round the full back like he wasn't there, he's done that again, twice this year for the Knights. That put down was freakish on the weekend. Unbelievable. His whole entire body was upside down, in touch, and he still scored.
When we talk about outrageous finishes, do you not find it... I keep thinking they can't do any better. We're at a point now where they've scored enough outrageous tries that you can't do better.
I was at that, very lucky to be at that one David Noffaluma scored in 2013 where it was off the kick.
Yeah, and it bounces.
No, it was a high kick and he overcut the kick, and he was in mid-air and he got pushed, and so he was horizontal and he got it down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At Campbelltown Sports Stadium. That for me, still probably, if I'm thinking about a player being entirely in touch but still scoring, probably the one for me.
But we get into a point now when they can't get any better. They can't get better.
Remember that David Mead one where he caught it on half volley?
Yeah.
That was good.
But then they keep doing it. I keep watching Makinson and he keeps scoring in the corner and you go, yeah, you can't get better than that. And then they do.
Ross Miskey, that whole car.
Yeah.
He did it for breakfast.
There has to become a point where these tries...
You just got to stop now. I blame Denny Solomon.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're going with that.
I saw a guy who was rating all these tries on the Denny Solomon scale. I think that's an accurate scale, though.
It is very accurate.
It's basically like the Richter scale, where every whole one it goes up, it's a factor of 10.
But
what would Dom Young's be?
at what point are we going to start watching these tries and going, yeah, fair enough, he's got it down.
Dom Young's try is destroying villages. Is that high up on the Richter scale?
Yeah.
On the Denny Solomon scale.
But that's what I mean. At some point, we're going to watch these tries and just say, yeah, he's got it down.
So
And
I
it
think,
becomes expected.
I think the Makinson and the Miskey ones, we're at that point now.
Yeah.
I think the Dom Young one
Is another level.
is another level, yeah.
But
I
at
think
some
so.
point, that's going to happen because watching the Makinson ones and the Miskies where they're diving in the corner, you go, yeah. But 15 years ago, that was completely abnormal. It's ridiculous what they can do.
Absolutely freakish.
And who was it that released a video the other week? Have you seen that video where they're practicing put downs like that? And they're practicing diving on mats and planting
Yeah.
it. And you go, and you watch one and you go, I could do that. But then you see it in a game and you're just like, what am I watching? It's obscene. It's absolutely obscene.
Don't miss the wingers nowadays.
No,
They do not
just
miss.
do not miss. It's ridiculous. It's mental. I can't describe them. That's pretty much every game that's worth talking about, really. The rest were quite simple.
A lot of
Actually,
teams, like you say, resting players and that, wasn't it? So it was just to
or
try
they
and
were
see
already out of it.
Yeah, it was trying to see what the table finished like, which was the main thing.
The
for
one
the
I
end
do
of
want to
this week.
mention is the Panthers versus North Queensland. North Queensland still had a chance to get in the 8, and they lose 44 points to 12 to a partially rested Penrith team. There was some dreadful defence. They were 26-0 down at half time. And when you're looking and going, this is a team fighting to get in the 8, and they just didn't seem bothered. That was a poor performance for me. Or maybe it's just how good North Queensland are. How good Penrith are, sorry. But that wraps up the NRL.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back to do our predictions. Okay, back with lightning fire predictions. We're going to do the NRL Playoffs because why not? There's only 4 games and it's knockout rugby, which everyone loves to watch. First up is we're going to do the first 2 that are the top 4. They'll get a second chance if they lose against the winners of the middle 4 teams.
Yeah. We used to have this system when we had top 8.
So, the first game, Brisbane.
Oh, you remember the
versus-
club call?
Oh, that was the
The club call, do you remember that? Where you,
Who are you going to call?
if you were top, and you won your first game,
You got to pick who
You got
you've
to
got
pick
to
who
play
you-
of the winners
yeah,
of that.
you got to pick it, you played in
yeah.
semi-final,
Yeah.
and then obviously it was just used as motivation. And I'm sure every team that picked in the club call got beat or nearly got beat.
I think there was only one where someone won. It was there was a ridiculous.
we had
stat.
it once, and Lenigan did it in front of like a big screen, and he picked Catalan.
Yeah.
Remember?
At home.
But that was an easy choice that year, so like at least it was like an easy choice.
But let's go to the first game. The one that neither of them wanted, or Melbourne wanted, but Brisbane didn't. At Suncorp, Brisbane versus Melbourne. Matty, who are you going?
I'm going to go for the Bronx at home.
I'm going to go Broncos.
Because of the record,
I know.
I'm going to go Storm.
It gave me pause.
Storm's record against Brisbane
I know.
is ridiculous. Do you not see Bellamy's interview? He said, like, what's your secret? He went, I just sent 13 men out and we go and play.
That's so Craig Bellamy.
Right, the second one. Penrith versus the Wars. Matty, who you win?
I think Penrith are going to win this one. I do really want to see a playoff game at Mount Smart, and that might be factoring into my thinking here.
But if the Warriors win, they get the week off.
No, I know.
And the semi at home.
I know, but I want them to win the playoff game at Mount Smart.
Yeah.
So I want them to play one of the bottom four.
That's what I'm gonna skip you there, Lewis, for a second. I think Penrith will win, but I think that's because I want the Warriors to lose so they can play one of the middle four teams at home.
That's what I just said.
No, I'm absolutely agreeing
Oh,
with you.
right,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I want to happen.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I'm not backing Penrith because I think they'll win. But
I think probably.
I do think they'll win as well.
Penrith will win as
Who
well.
are you going
I'm
with?
going Penrith. I think they'll win. I think
feels
they've
like
been
an
a
easy
step
choice.
better, haven't they? So I think they're going to be too strong for the Warriors.
They're a good side.
Now,
On to
Over.
like elimination now.
yeah, this
is
is
it.
out.
You lose and you're out.
This is you have to win. This game, your eliminator, the semi, and then the final. So you've got to win 4 from 4 if you want to win it from here. Cronulla versus the Roosters. Now I've said all along that if the Roosters make the 8, they could win it because of Tedesco, Suolei, Manu, Kiri, Sam Walker. But who are you going for, Matty?
Give me Scott Morrison kicking drop goals on the field. Give me the Bermuda Triangle. Give me Shark Park.
On the Sharks.
Boys in the black, white, blue.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with the Roosters. I think the hardest thing for the Roosters was qualifying for the 8. I think now they've done it. I think, like you're saying, they've got the star power, they've got the experience. Who's been there and done it before? I think the hardest thing was, I'm not saying they might go on and win it, but I think the hardest thing was getting there. I think now that they're there, they'll probably will win this game.
I see it. So you're going the Roosters. I'm worried that they're going to miss Jared. They're going to miss a bit of aggression and a bit of something in the middle.
Yeah, but they won't give away 4 points.
It's a bit of a liability, isn't it? A bit of a liability. I mean, they didn't want to take him to Las Vegas anyway, because that's not what we want to represent our sport.
I'm going to go the Sharkies.
Okay.
Nico Hines.
Home teams
Yeah.
dominating for me so far.
And finally, the Knights versus the Raiders.
Yeah.
Are you going against your Raiders? Because that would be disgusting.
I'm not going against the Raiders, and I genuinely think they're going to win this game.
Big Red not playing. He's still banned.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Yeah, that's another one like Big Jerry, giving 4 points away anyway. I think Jack Whiting's not finished in a green shirt. Jack Whiting's going to have one more unbelievable game, and I don't think they're going to go on a big run. I think this will be it? I think this will be one game, and I do also think it might be one game too many for the young Knights. Although promising for the future, very promising for the future.
Lewis?
I'm going Newcastle. I'm going the Knights.
Yeah.
I don't watch. I watch NRL and it's on if I make it up. I don't get up especially to watch it. I've mentioned earlier on in episodes how I like watching South Sydney and the way they play, and I mentioned last week, and I stick by it. I've been loving watching Newcastle play. I think they play some good rugby. They're exciting. They're a young team. Obviously, they got Dom Young in there. Some more English players going over there next season. I'm enjoying kind of following the Knights a little bit now, so I'm going to go Newcastle Knights.
I just think. Sorry, I know you're going to give. I just think with it being a playoff game and it being like do or die, Raiders have been there and done that. They've won big playoff games before.
This is where
I just think they might just lock up and nerves might just get the better of them at home as well.
See, I'm going to go for a different reason, but I'm going to go the Knights because I said last week they've not got Ponga. Last week they need to win a game without Kalen Ponga and do it defensively and not concede 24. They couldn't win 26-24 in my opinion, and they did exactly what I thought they needed to do. Win without Ponga. They've won by 20 points, kept St George down to just 2 tries, a Ben Hunt try and a Ravalawa try in the corner. For that reason,
Is Ponga back for Newcastle?
Ponga's back. He had the 11-day stand down.
Right.
There was talks they weren't going to play him either way if he was fit.
No,
they didn't
because
want to risk him for this.
if he does get a head knock, then he's out for this game, and then that's just a disaster.
But Ponga back I know we're talking about the Knights as not having much experience in there, but I look, Kalen Ponga has been there and done it.
Not with the Knights though.
He's been on the Origin stage.
In Origin,
these
yeah.
players have been there. Jackson Hastings has been to a grand final. I know it's over here, but been there, done it.
Been to 2.
Been to 2. I'm gonna go the Knights. Right, Super League. Let's start off first. No, I'm gonna leave it till the end. Actually, sorry. Wakey Catalans. Can Wakey keep their survival hopes alive this week?
Well, I'm going with Catalan to win. Bit of a spoiler alert, I think all the top 3 will win. But I think it'll all be by a pretty similar margin. So I do think Wakefield will keep it competitive again, but I think they will ultimately lose this game.
Lewis?
Yeah, Catalans for me too strong for Wakey.
I've got to go Catalans as well. If Wakey want to survive. The only way Wakey do this is that Catalans have completely imploded after losing 2-2.
Yeah.
And Wakey at home do something special, and David Fafita ends up doing a shoey in the crowd. I really want to see that. I keep bringing it up.
He only said they would do it if he beat Cass.
I would love it if he did it. But that might just... Who knows? Huddersfield, KR...
Who did you back then?
Catalans.
Alright, okay.
Huddersfield, KR...
KR for me have got a lot more riding on this game.
I think it's game over. They might be already on holiday mode for me.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Huddersfield losing to Lee last week. Already the results went, and I might have said before it was a 3-horse race. 2 out of 3 teams won. The one who didn't was Huddersfield. I feel like they may have given up now. They might know their season's over. So yeah, OKR, I've still got lots to play for, so I'm going OKR.
Saints, Lee. Matty.
I've said for a while, Saints home form. I think it'll be close, but Saints at home will win. Take care of business.
Lewis?
Yeah, I'm going to go say. I'm thinking, but I'm going to go Saints.
He's thinking about this one.
I am thinking about this one, yeah, but I'm going to go Saints at home. Yeah, too strong. Just because I keep agreeing with you, Matty, I'm thinking, can I get anything different? But no, Saints, I think, yeah, too strong. If it was at Leeds Sports Village, I might have sweared the other way, but I think home advantage gives Saints the edge.
I'm going to go Lee.
Be brave.
Because I've said for the last few weeks, the injuries haven't hit Saints yet. And I think they're going to have a week where Delaney struggles, the young lads on the bench struggle, just because of fatigue and playing Super League standard for so long. Obviously losing Hurrell, they're going to have Ben Davies back in the centre. And I think Lee are going to come with a point to prove of. They haven't beat the top 3 for a while. They lost to Wigan, they lost to Catalans. The last time it was when they beat Saints 8 to 9 games ago. But that was at home in the semi-final. That was the last time they beat one of the top 3.
Yeah.
I think they're going to want to show that they can go away and beat one of the top 3 away from home. Because they've been close, but I think they're going to have everything set on this week.
I think they did beat Saints away really early in the season because I remember Joe Shorrock's in the blue leopard print kit.
The semi-final would have been a neutral stadium, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, they did. They won
semi-finals at Warrington.
Fourth game, but that was when they came back from...
Shorrock's was playing for them.
But obviously, Saints had just come back from Penrith.
Yes.
Which obviously affected them for 9 months. But I think they're going to want to win a game away from home near the playoffs, just to say we're not the 4th team up here and drag us back into that fight at the top. I think they've been targeting this. Cass, Hull FC, Matty.
All FC, quite close, I think, to be honest.
Lewis?
Yeah, I'm going to go LFC.
I'm going to go Hull FC, but I'm going to go by about 20 to 30 points.
I don't think.
I think this will be close. I'm with Matty. I think Castle and Danny Ward will want to right the wrongs of that big scoreline last week.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be enough to beat them. That's why I kind of paused for a second. I was just thinking, could they do it? I'm going to say no, they can't, but I do think it'll be close. I think they'll be lucky if they get a performance under the belt.
I'm going to go, after like I said, Hull FC. I can't see them. I can't see Cass getting the win. Let's go Leeds Wigan at Headingley on Saturday.
Oh, you're not saying us till the end.
No, because I think this is the top 60 side of the next one.
Oh, okay, fair.
Well, no secret I'm going for Wigan because I always do, but Headingley is such a tough place to play. We've got a really poor recent record there. I know they're in a bit of chaos. So they've got, that half-back partnership we talked about before. I think that will see us over the line. I don't think it's going to be us at our free-flowing best like we've seen the last 2 games, plus the OKR one. I think it's probably going to be more of a scrap. However, I think we've got a lot more quality than Leeds. So I think we'll negate that gap that Headingley provides them and end up winning. That's my thing. I just think, I think we've got a bit too much quality in the backs, and our forwards hopefully play all right again.
Nice to get Dupree back.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have Dupree back. And we've got no bands this week, which is always nice.
Lewis?
Yeah, similar to Matty, I think we're too strong. I feel like, obviously, Leeds have beat us at home this season. They've had us close in the cup game, but I feel like this team, a lot's changed at Leeds since then. That squad, Matty and for the half-back partnership pretty much sums it up, but the squad looking a little bit thin, and they're in, like, as a club, I know they're still fighting for that 6th spot, but
They're behind the others, aren't they?
they're behind the others.
Especially with them being able to play each other, so somebody's going to pick up points there.
Yeah, they're behind. And the whole club, there's just not, like I said before, when your club's in this predicament, as much as coaches and players will say, we're not bothered about that, we're just focusing on what we can control and on the field, it does affect you. You want to know that things are set in place and things are right, and it's not at the minute at Leeds. So, and again, like Matty said, I don't want to kind of focus on Leeds being bad, but we have got quality. We've been playing really well. I think it is going to be a bit of a dogfight, but I think we'll get through it and win.
I can't add anything to that. I agree with exactly what both of you have said, so I'm going to go Wigan. Save me talking, really. Last one. And I think, like we said, it's the top 60-sider. Salford hold all the cards because they played the other 2. Salford versus Wire. First of all, I hope the AJ Bell is as packed as it's been in the last 4 or 5 weeks. We're about nearly 5,000-6,000 up.
Also, Channel 4, 12:45. So 3 games on
that
this weekend. Sunday. 3 games on this weekend. Saints lead on the Friday night Sky. We're on 2:45.
Yep.
Against Leeds on Sky as well. Unusual kick-off time, but then we've got
Sunday's challenge.
United aren't at home.
Sundays.
What's
There's
that?
no United game. International breaks, they can't use that as the excuse.
No, there's no United game, so Salford should get a good crowd on. Warrington, you would expect, will travel in great numbers to that, with it being a Sunday afternoon. Well, Sunday lunchtime, I suppose. But yeah, on Channel 4, let's get those viewing figures up while there's no football on.
Exactly. Are you going?
It's a coin flip for me, this one. This is really, really tough. I think I'm going to go for Salford by less than a try. But I've no confidence either way, though. I think these are 2 quite evenly matched teams.
I'm going to go Warrington. I feel like they've got some good wins now. They're building on some good players. There's a bit more, you can see now some players playing with a smile on the face. They have got X-Factor players with George Williams in there. So, yeah, I think they might have enough to just pip Salford here. So I'm going to go Wire.
I'm going to go Warrington, but more because of the issues that Salford have got. I think Watkins is injured, Vinny Hour banned. Although they did have Adam Sidlow as the 18th man, and he was doing some runs at the end.
Yeah, so he's back. It's interesting though,
but obviously Sneed went off carrying a knot.
Yeah, not one to point fingers really, but 3 Salford players banned the week before Warrington. Last week there were 3 Cast players banned, when not many players in the league have been banned. It's just makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit fishy.
A little bit fishy that seemingly more than half the players who've been banned in the last fortnight have been about to play at Warrington.
Stop doing foul play, just tackle between nipple and belly button and they won't have an issue.
We all know who's head of the disciplinary as well. I don't know. But
Never thought you for a conspiracy theorist.
no. It's unusual though, isn't it? Just one to think about there.
Just a little bit.
Just one to think about.
Right. That wraps up everything for today,
Yes.
I think.
Let's keep
I
it.
thought you were going to say something then, Lewis.
No,
I thought you were going to jump
no,
in.
No, I think it does.
Let's keep this good form rolling
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another win. It's getting to the point where you just have to keep winning now.
against Leeds.
Right. Hopefully, see you next week.
He'll put you in his trap 'cause